Okay, well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Two Sons Podcast. I am your co-host Philip, followed by my brother, the one, the only Joseph Karuba.
Enchante.
Oh, very, very nice, very nice.
Awesome.
And today we're going to be talking about a beloved franchise, a franchise that has been around for a while, that has rocked the early 2000s with its outstanding and surprisingly good CGI, some badass characters, some very, very quite attractive female characters, and
Explosions.
Michael
Michael
Bay. That's
Bay.
all we gotta say, Michael Bay. And if you have not guessed by now, we are going to be talking about Transformers. And specifically, we're going to be talking about Transformers Rise of the Beast, as that just came out recently. Um, so we are going to, kind of do a breakdown of the movie, what we liked, what we didn't like, how we received it. And then we'll spend the rest of the time just kind of talking about Transformers as a whole. It seems like with the release of Bumblebee and Transformers Rise of the Beast that they plan on doing another verse, so to speak, when it came to Transformers. For those of you that do not know, the early Transformers movies with, Shia LaBeouf and Mark Wahlberg and Megan Fox have been coined the Michael Bay verse, because obviously all of them have to do with Michael Bay. And those are like the classic like 2000 Transformers that we know and love. However, when it comes to the solo movie of Bumblebee with Haley Steinfeld and then Transformers: Rise of the Beast, this is being considered as its own verse. So we kind of have like a multiverse of Transformers going on right now. We're not 100% sure whether or not these two verses coexist, so we don't know if like these movies are like the prequels to like the Michael Bay ones. It seems like they might be going in different directions. So we don't know if it's gonna have to do anything with Michael Bay or whatever. Um,
Well, he still is a producer on the Transformer movies.
mhm,
I remember seeing his name in the credits, and they do reference like B's love for humans in Rise of the Beast for like a split moment. So like I guess that is talking about like the Bumblebee film. But as far as I know, they don't really mention any correlation with the Michael Bay uh, franchise or
mhm.
whatever set of movies you want to call that as of yet.
Right, yeah. So, we're a little unsure about the future of Transformers. I did see a TikTok post where they leaked, some possible upcoming Transformer movies in the future. So it seems like they might be trying to build some sort of trilogy based upon the events of Transformers Rise of the Beast, with I think Unicron just basically being like the big villain for like the whole trilogy. And I think it's going to follow like, the characters that we've met and so on and so forth. And that seems like they're going in that direction. And then obviously with the most recent post credit, there could be an interesting future for the Transformers, which we will talk about and get into. But for now, that's what the episode's going to be about. So it's good to be back. Listen, for all you out there, we try to stick to a set schedule. We really do. But things happen. I
It's
mean,
hard.
we're both working. I mean, I'm going to school. My brother might be going back to school. So it's hard. I mean, we do the
Also
best
work
we
full
can.
time at a
Exactly.
movie
We
theater, and a lot of things are coming out. It's very hard. It's not all glamorous as it seems. Free
we do.
popcorn's cool and all, I guess, but like you can only take so much. Getting on with it.
Wait, okay. While he cries. So we do the best we can. um, but we're happy to be back, and I mean, regardless of when we record, there's going to be content coming out each week. So if it doesn't fall on a specific day, I mean, just you might get it in the middle of the week, uh, early in the week, late in the week. Who knows? In this case, you're getting it late in the week, so just suck it up and get over it. I don't know what to tell you. Um, but we haven't really done too much content like as of late when it came to stuff that just came out. Um, we've been focusing a lot on the past, or like we've been doing like our own little like fun like trivia brackets and stuff like that. Um, and again, just we kind of have to wait until we both see it. So we both saw Transformers. So we have that to talk about. He still needs to see Across the Spider-Verse, and
Yes.
he needs to see Indiana Jones. Um,
Yes.
and I didn't see Fast X. I mean, I don't really plan on seeing Fast X. I'd rather just
I think
wait
it's
until it
on
came to
demand at this
streaming.
point. I
Yeah,
think so. Like you might as well see it.
and
Indie
I
or
mean,
Spider Verse, I'll aim for next week if I could.
yeah, and I haven't seen The Flash. I don't know
Yeah,
if we're
me neither.
so. I mean, there are a couple movies we just haven't gotten to see yet, but obviously Transformers is one that we both have seen. Transformers. I mean, we grew up with. I mean, we were young when like the Michael Bay movies came out, and we were introduced to Transformers. Um, you know, Classic story, getting the action figures, playing with the action figures. I remember there used to be this game on like PlayStation where it was like Transformers, and like you could like literally just like run around as like a Transformer, and like it was freaking awesome. Um, so yeah, so a lot of fond memories. So it's nice to see the franchise come back, see some familiar faces, and I am excited, but also nervous about the direction they're going to go in. Because it's always a shame when the franchise takes a certain direction and it doesn't do as good as you would like it to.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, in a second here, we're going to talk about the reviews. I mean, how Rotten Tomatoes scored it, how the audience scored it. And we'll get into that aspect. But before we dive in deeper. Um, I think we'll just, I was gonna say something, but then it just slipped my mind. I think we'll just get into our casual, breakdown where we ask each other how we're doing. So, Joey, would you like to tell our wonderful audience how we're doing?
No.
Okay.
Tired. Very tired. It's been a long week. Luckily, work has not been crazy busy recently, but it's just been a lot of stuff that I've been trying to get done at work. Haven't really had a lot of chances to do that because we're trying to work on a bunch of different things. We got Mission Impossible coming out next week on like a Tuesday, so that's really weird. And then you got Barbenheimer like a week or two later. Um, so that's gonna be fun. Getting a lot of things in. I'll tell you guys, a little secret. Do not say anything. I can get fired. There's going to be a lot of stuff that AMC is selling regarding Barbie, Ninja Turtles, and Blue Beetle. As of now, there's at least 3 different things for Ninja Turtles, at least 2 to 3 different things for Barbie, including a Margot Robbie Barbie doll. And something cool for Blue Beetle, but I'm not going to give it away. So be on the lookout for that at your local theaters. Um, excuse me. And yeah, like my brother said, I'm thinking about going back to school to get my master's in something. So I'm not super sure what's going on with that yet, but that's excuse me, that's something I'm probably going to end up trying to do anyway. So we'll see how that works out. And then overall, just getting through the summer. It's like halfway over, so that's a little sad. But still enjoying it. Going to see Big Time Rush this weekend. That's pretty cool. I don't know if you guys ever seen Big Time Rush. On what was it? What was it?
It was, I think it
Nickelodeon.
was Nickelodeon. Yeah. Well,
I'm
if you
assuming
haven't, you
Nickelodeon.
missed out on your childhood. I mean, I don't know what else
Yes,
to tell you.
I highly recommend just listening to the songs, and that's actually the first concert I'll ever be to. So that's pretty fun. And yeah, I mean, just same old stuff. Nothing super interesting. I have a lot of fun stories at work. But I'm not gonna bore you guys with that as of now. Before I ask my brother how he's doing, are we gonna do the like the minute thing that we did last time,
Yeah.
where we like
Mhm.
talked? Okay, I didn't know if we were. But
Yeah,
we
'cause
never asked
I got some stuff that I want to talk about. So yeah, so we can do that.
you guys how are you doing, and if
Yeah,
you know.
you're right. We never do X, guys. How are you doing? And for starters, if you would like another episode where Joey just goes off and basically just talks about all of his experiences and stories at AMC, please drop a comment. I want to shout out one of our viewers. They recently commented on one of our best movie trilogy episodes, and they gave their own list of their best movie trilogy. Um, Let me see if I can pull up on my phone real quick. Just bear with me because I just want to give them a quick shout out. Because
Also, in that
we love you
episode,
guys. So let me see.
we would definitely love to do another movie trilogy episode where we rank our personal best trilogies of all time. That was just a list of a couple of different big movie franchises because there's a lot we didn't talk about that I definitely would love to get into. So probably expect another episode out like that sometime in the future because it was
Let me
definitely fun to
see.
do,
I
and
think
I
it
can't wait to do it
was.
again.
Was it this one? Hold on, just bear with me for a second. I don't remember which part it was. Let's see, was it this part? Yes, it was. Okay, so we got, and I apologize if I butcher your name, but looks like we got Dank Air GADAM 8841. So they put their own best movie trilogy list of all time. So they had Star Wars original trilogy, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Godfather, The Dark Knight, Spider-Man original trilogy. So I'm assuming he meant the Tobey Maguire because that's the only one that's been
Yeah.
another trilogy. Pirates of the Caribbean, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, Toy Story, Star Wars prequel trilogy, and then an 11th spot was Man of Steel trilogy. So shout out to you. You're awesome. Thank you for your list. And obviously there was some in there that we just didn't cover because there are just so many movie trilogies to go
What's
over like
considered? Is
throughout
he
the
considering? Sorry to
hmm?
cut you off, but the Man of Steel trilogy, is he considering Justice League in that trilogy, like Zack Snyder's Justice League?
No, there actually is a trilogy. But I think it's Man of Steel 1 and 2, and then there's like I forgot how the trilogy is labeled, but there's a movie.
There's
It's
Batman
not
vs
there.
Superman.
There's a movie before Man of Steel that's like the precursor to Man of Steel. I just don't know what it's called. I
With
think it's like
Henry Cavill
Superman. Is it like
Superman?
Superman Begins or something like that? Or
Like, are they talking about Henry Cavill Superman or like before that?
no?
With
Well, Man of
Christopher
Steel.
Reeve?
I mean, Henry Cavill was Man of Steel. So I mean, yeah, they're talking about his trilogy.
I honestly don't know. I don't because as far as I know, Man of Steel was like one of the first DC movies out there, like
Let
way
me
back in
see.
2013.
Hold on. Let me see if I could look it up.
And then the
Yeah.
only other one that I know of that's considered in like Man of Steel is Batman vs Superman, and then maybe Zack Snyder's Justice League. But because I don't really know what else Henry Cavill Superman is in those DC movies, he's really actually not in. I think a lot like besides
Yeah. Hold
Justice
on.
League.
Hold on. Let me find out. Yeah. We like to do things live here on Two Sons podcast. So
This
we
is
are
how
currently
real
going to look this up.
podcasts do it. Listen, we ain't nothing fancy. We don't got no fancy editing setup. We don't got a whole studio. We just got our rooms, our phones, and our computers,
I'm just trying to
not our
figure out.
smiles, and good old water.
Yeah,
That's all you
I'm
need.
just trying to.
All you out there hoping to start a podcast, just all you need is some sort of technology, you know, a mind and water, so your lips don't get chapped or dry. Because talking with a dry mouth is it's not good. It's not a good thing I would recommend.
Um, to be
It's okay if
honest,
you don't have the answer.
yeah, to be honest, I'm trying to because
If I just look it up, I have a computer.
I look up Man of Steel trilogy and then I don't see anything for Man of Steel trilogy, but I know what this guy is talking about though
Um,
because because I know what he's talking about. Um, but I don't know. I mean, while my brother tries to help me out here, so for whoever commented, thank you. Like I said, I mean, there are some trilogies that were in that list that we didn't cover, and just because trilogies are just so well known throughout cinema, there are so many franchises that have done so many trilogies. So if you would like to see another trilogy list where we break that down, please let us know. Um, and again, let us know how you guys are doing. How you guys are. Oh, yes, yes, Joey, you gotta.
so from what I found, it's Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
the
So
only thing that seems to make sense if we're talking about Henry Cavill Superman.
okay, so yeah, so that must be what he's referring to.
Interesting.
Which would
I
make
would like
sense
to
because
know. I would like to know about that.
those were technically like the only projects that Henry Cavill's Superman was in. So I mean, it would
Mhm.
make sense that that would be like his trilogy. Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, just let us know how you guys are doing. We're always looking for different options for content and stuff. Even these little comments like this, they mean the world to us. It's nice to see people sit there and watch long enough where they leave a comment and they let us know how they're liking it. Um, so yeah, so we hope everybody's doing well. Um,
Speaking of that, I didn't actually look at it yet, but apparently we actually got like, I put out Q&As every I put out Q&As every week when we post our episodes, and apparently somebody commented on one of the Q&As.
Oh,
I don't know if it's on. Let's see. I don't know how to look at that. I'm not sure. You continue talking. I don't know which one. So it was on our Pixar bracket debate, and our poll was which Pixar film deserves the top spot. And I had Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., Toy Story, Wally, Coco, and Up. And Up is rated at number one. I don't know if you guys can see, but that red line right there is Up. So somebody commented and ranked Up as a top spot for Pixar film. So I agree with you, whoever that person was. um, Thank you. But getting back to what you were saying, sorry.
yeah, no, I mean, I was just gonna go on to how I'm doing. You know what? For a change, things could be better. Usually they're good, but everybody hits a rough patch once in a while. Um, so things could be better. But I have a sneaking suspicion that things are going to get better, and it's gonna come momentarily, sometime soon. I'm almost done with my summer semester, so I got like another 2 weeks of that, and I'll be out of school for a few weeks until I start again in the fall. Work is going great. Got a busy weekend and week ahead of me. I'm learning how to close, so your boy's gonna be an opener and a closer. Haha.
Ooh,
um,
both son
might
and
be making
moon.
some big boy moves. Might be taking on some more responsibility, but that's what we gotta do as we get older. So and then before we wrap up this part, final shout out to both me and Joey. We just celebrated some birthdays, these last few
Ooh,
days. So
no.
your boys turns one 1 year older.
Yeah.
So there's more of a
Guess you
future to
could say
look
I'm in
forward
my
to.
Taylor Swift era. Feeling 22. Everything's gonna be all right. Next to you. I don't really know the song, but shout out to Tay Tay. I'm 22 in case you guys couldn't tell. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I was nervous. I didn't know how old you were, but yeah. So he just turned 22. I turned 24. So we're just trucking along. So looking forward to the rest of the year. Seeing what's gonna come out of it, and yeah. So seeing how far. I mean, looking back, I mean, it's amazing how much this podcast has grown like over the years, and like it's just crazy to think that like we're still sitting here and like recording videos and people are watching us and loving us. And I mean, we're even adding more countries to our list, like, every other week. So again, before we wrap up this part, thank you guys, for all the love and support. I mean, look, we could have 26 subscribers on YouTube and we could have that for the whole rest of the year. And I'll still be grateful that we have 26 subscribers. And same thing for Spotify or whatever. So
That's
just,
around what we have on Spotify anyway, last time I checked.
yeah. So
That's just amazing to me that people follow the Spotify and listen and have their notifications on and get the updates whenever it comes out. And I just want to say shout out. The last solo episode that I put out, the Elemental one, is doing great, and I heard from a couple of people that they really enjoyed it. So I'm super glad that you guys are into that. And again, it's such a shock to me when I open up Podcasters, I believe it's called now, or Anchor, and I see that another country was added to our list. I don't care if it's below 1% of our viewership. Most of our viewership is in one country, but regardless if it's below 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever it is, another country added to the list just means we keep on spreading and we keep on going. So again, like we always say, much love and appreciation to you guys because you are the ones that make this podcast possible. I mean, we don't mind talking to ourselves. We don't mind talking to ourselves, but it's nice to know that other people are listening. What's going on there? Ooh,
sorry, just wanted to show off my Darth Vader lightsaber.
that's an authentic lightsaber right there.
Yeah.
Vader himself has used it.
What was I gonna say? But yeah, I mean that I mean everything that my brother said and more. And then also, oh, FYI, he did kill the roach in that episode. So I can
Yeah.
confirm that he did kill the roach. It's okay. The roach is still not in his room because I wonder if anybody was realizing that. They're just like I wonder if he ever did anything with that roach. So yes, I can confirm that he killed that roach.
Immediately after I stopped recording, I just like opened my blinds. I got like spray, and I was like, "I'm sorry, little one," and I just had to
Yeah,
go. Had to
yeah.
go.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. So,
You gotta do it.
all right. Well, now that we got this little introduction and Q&A out of the way, like I said, last time we recorded together, we're gonna introduce these new takes where we'll call it the I don't know, like Two Sons Minute. I mean, it doesn't have to be a minute, but it's just like,
Yeah.
anything that has came about like, recently, like, social media, movies, TV shows, whatever. If we have anything that we want to talk about, we're excited about, we could just spend a little time talking about it. So there are a few things that I want to talk about. First things first, I know I touched upon it the last time we recorded together, but Marvel Secret Invasions, so far there are 3 episodes in, and it has been really good. It is on track to probably be one of the best Marvel shows that Disney Plus has put out so far. It is really providing the momentum that Phase 5 needs to continue like on track towards like a positive phase. Because obviously it didn't start too great with Quantumanium, but with Guardians of the Galaxy and now Secret Invasions, it's setting up Phase 5 for a lot of success. So I'm really excited to see where it's going to go. Um, Nick Fury and Samuel L. Jackson, I mean, he's great. The whole idea of the scrolls and everything like is perfect. Um, it's almost like Andor with that like espionage like slash spy like kind of dark, anthology type of vibe. It's really good. Really honestly no complaints. Some episodes have more action than others, but I mean again, it's a spy movie, so or a spy show. So I mean some episodes you'll just have them like running around, trying to figure out clues, and then other days you'll have them like beating each other up, so it just kind of depends on like, the
Yeah.
flow of the plot and like where the story's going. But one of the main villains or the main villain named Gravik, he's on track to probably be also like a top like MCU villain. And like his development has been like really good so far, and like the way the show's going, it's paying a lot of homage to like the comic books and is like possibly setting up they refer to them by watching like other podcasters and stuff, the idea of a super scroll. And it seems like they're setting up the idea of a super scroll. For those of you that don't know, in the comics, there was a thing called the super scroll where basically it was a scroll, but they had like all the powers of the Fantastic Four. Um,
Mm.
so basically just like, like superheroes, but basically just for a scroll. So it seems like they're kind of like planting those seeds in this show. So it should be pretty interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, it's on Disney Plus, Marvel Secret Invasions. Great. Just honestly, just nothing but good things to say about it. For those of you that don't like the AI sequence in the very beginning, get over yourselves because it's actually really good when you think about it, based on like the show and the whole idea that like scrolls are generating human bodies and faces just like how an AI would generate images. I mean, it's the same.
Yeah. It
It's a
makes sense.
clever play on
Mhm.
words, and if you can't see that, then I mean, you just need to go back to school. But no, I mean, it's great. So please go check it out. Let's see what else do I want to talk about. Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny, our beloved Indiana Jones franchise has finally come to an end with Harrison Ford's last performance. Shout out to that man. He's 80 years old and he's still doing action movies. So I mean, this is definitely going to be his like last prominent role, but he did such a good job. So it had its flaws, but I think it's a decent ending to the franchise. Um, and if you haven't gone to see it, I highly suggest you do. It definitely has that feel of an Indiana Jones story, but at the same time, it does the best it can. It does the best it can with an 80-year-old, as the protagonist.
Yeah.
I mean, so of course there were problems with it, but overall it was an enjoyable film. I laughed, I cried towards the end, when you realized that the franchise was coming to an end. Of course you shed a tear, because Indiana Jones is one of the franchises that we grew up with. So, um, but yeah, please go check that out. Two more things. Um, the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen just dropped. What was it? I think yesterday. So please go watch that. I've heard a lot of great things. It's going to get into some of the great arcs that are in the manga. First episode, which is done by Mappa, they've done stuff like Attack on Titan, Vinland Saga, Chainsaw Man. Great animation studio, and they knock it out of the park with this first episode. It's great. Technically, you don't really even need to watch the first season to watch the first few episodes of season two because they're kind of doing like a flashback, and then they're gonna like come back to like current events. But super good. So thumbs up. Nothing bad to say about it. Looking forward to seeing how it's gonna unfold because it's actually gonna like be like the whole summer. Like the way they like planned out like the timeline, like the second season is pretty much gonna take up like the whole rest of the summer, like into the fall. So it's gonna be pretty cool. And finally, turning to the streaming service of Max, which used to be HBO Max, there is a new DC show on there called My Adventures with Superman. And I watched the first two episodes, and it kind of has that like cartoon, like anime style. So it's almost like watching like a Superman anime. And I loved it. I thought it was great. The animation was great. I don't think it's going to be too family friendly. They probably are going to touch upon some like sensitive subjects and some deeper subjects. But I thought the animation style was great. I love everybody's design. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I would love to get more into DC. So if they put out projects like this, I mean, I'll definitely start watching them. But yeah, I thought I'd give it a try. And they released two episodes, and they were each like 20 something minutes long. And first two episodes were good. Can't really complain much. So I think it will be probably out. Maybe I don't know when it came out. I don't know if it came out like yesterday or today. Um,
I think I think yesterday because I
So
actually
if
have
it
to
came
watch
out like
it
yesterday, then it will probably be like airing like every Thursday. So I mean, again, it's on HBO Max, which is now called Max. But yeah, so it was pretty good. So I just wanted to show some love to DC, and yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. So
Cool. I got a couple of things I want to talk about. First, starting off, summer movies. We are halfway through the summer. It is the beginning of July, and we still have about 2 months left to go. July and August are going to be the biggest months, probably of the summer with movies. Next big one coming out we got is Mission Impossible, um, starring Tom Cruise, Simon Pegg, Haley Atwell, Pom Clemeth, not sure if I'm saying her name right. Another girl that was in the Hobbs and Shaw movie. I don't know her name off the top of my head. A lot of good stars in that. As we know, Tom Cruise, nailed it at the box office with his last film, Top Gun Maverick. Don't know if Mission Impossible is gonna make over 1 billion. I don't foresee it
well, I
happening.
just want to like add something quick. Rotten Tomatoes have already scored it 100%. So
I saw it went down a little bit to 97% after like 80 something reviews, but it's still highly rated.
oh,
I
okay.
expect it making anywhere between 6 to 800 million. Honestly, if it makes below that, I'd be very surprised. It also does come out on a Tuesday. It actually comes out this Tuesday. From some of our viewers, usually it comes out the day before. With limited release. So like 3 or 4 showings. So that Monday, the 11th or 12th, I believe. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. That's gonna be a big one. And then at the end of July, we have Barbenheimer. We have Barbie starring, Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie and 17,000 other people, along with Oppenheimer, which is a movie directed by Christopher Nolan regarding the creation of the atomic bomb, and this also has a I wanted to make nope. This also this also has a star-studded cast with the likes of Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Cillian Murphy. Uh,
And I mean, he's been great in Peaky Blinders. I mean, he's more
always
well
great
known
in like
for Peaky
whatever else he's
Blinders.
in.
So I mean, the fact that he does such a good job, like as that character, I'm like really excited to see how he's gonna do as like Oppenheimer.
And really, I mean, every I actually haven't really sat down and watched a trailer for the film because I kind of want to get, even though I know like of the creation of the atomic bomb because like I've read it and, before and stuff, but I'm just interested to see like how this really turns out as a story because the other day I saw a trailer where I actually saw Robert Downey Jr.'s character um, you know, actually talking and he was talking about Truman and stuff like that. He looks old. And I like how it looks like it's going between black and white and like color and stuff,
Mhm.
depending on maybe the scene they're in. Also, I heard if you want to sit in basically the middle of the theater, I think 4 rows if you're from the back, go 4 rows forward and sit in like those middle seats. That's where the sound is going to be optimal. Apparently, that's where the best. I don't know. Depending if you go see it in IMAX or Dolby. Me personally, as being a moviegoer and working there, the 3 middle rows are the best seats to sit in. If you sit on the side, you're not really losing out, and you will actually hear more things because that's where the speakers are located. Um, so I've also heard people thinking about going seeing two in one day. Don't know if you want to wake up and see Oppenheimer and then go to Barbie. If you want to wake up and see Barbie and then go to Oppenheimer, me personally, I'd wake up, dress up, get a nice coffee, get a nice, little breakfast, go sip on some champagne or something, go see Oppenheimer. After that, take a little mental break, go get some Taco Bell, go sit your butt down with a margarita and see Barbie. I don't know. So if any of our viewers out there actually go and see both in one day, let me know how it was. Just because I've never actually seen multiple movies in one day at a movie theater, and I should do it at one point. Definitely, when I have the time. But I honestly don't know what the Barbie movie is about, but I'm excited to see it just because Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, all these people.
I
Looks
feel like I
fun.
feel like nobody knows what the movie's about, but everybody's just so excited to see it.
And Oppenheimer, again, a lot of people are saying it's horrifying and it's just so surreal. And again, it's a heavy topic. So I'm very interested to see. And I would recommend, if you're really into that stuff, see it in IMAX and Dolby, just because I saw the film reel it was shot on for IMAX is 11 miles long. So that's just crazy. And it's Christopher Nolan, the man behind Dark Knight trilogy and so much more. So it's probably going to be a banger. Also, it is 3 hours flat. It is 3 hours flat. And then Barbie is, I think, 1 hour 40, something
Well,
like that. It's under two
I
hours.
just hope that Oppenheimer doesn't bomb at the theater.
That would be quite ironic. um, Next thing I wanted to talk about, going into more movies. End of the summer coming up, probably one of my most anticipated films, and I really hope it is a smash at the box office. Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle is going to be the first DC film that is actually going to kick off James Gunn and Peter Safran, I believe is his name, the DC duo, their new DC plan. Um, I love this cast because almost nobody in this cast is a big name in Hollywood besides George Lopez, and forgetting the woman's name, but and the main dude that plays Blue Beetle, he was in Cobra Kai from what I know, and I think something else. But other than that, these aren't crazy big names, and it doesn't look like it's gonna be crazy big stakes in the movie. But I'm excited to see something fresh. Every time I see the trailer, it looks like it's gonna be a fun film. I think they're gonna do justice with it. I think it's gonna be a smash hit. So I am looking forward to it. And that's really those are the big bangers for the rest of the summer. Besides a couple of horror movies coming out, if you guys are big into horror, there is a good amount of horror coming out. Um, from basically Insidious that just came out, I think a couple of days ago, if not yesterday. Um, to up to Five Nights at Freddy's. That is something I'm super excited about for next year. So just be on the lookout for all that stuff. Um, and then the next thing I wanted to talk about was a film that is actually not being released in theaters, but it is being released in Netflix of next December, and it is going to be Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon. So this is actually a Star Wars film directed by Zack Snyder, and this is a film that he based off of what George Lucas based Star Wars off of. So the actual synopsis of the film is in a universe controlled by the corrupt government of the Mother World, the moon of Velt is threatened by the forces of the Imperium. The army of the Mother World, controlled by Regent Belarus, Cora, a former member of the Imperium who seeks redemption for her past in the leadership of the oppressive government, tasks herself to recruit warriors from across the galaxy to make a stand against the Mother World's forces before they return to the planet. So, from what I know, Zack Snyder basically takes about 7 different characters in this film, and I guess those are going to be the characters this person recruits to, I guess, fight this so-called Mother World. Um, Knowing Zack Snyder, it's going to have a certain look to it, and I don't think there's been an inherent trailer for it, but there is a teaser poster. There's images of it, and I'm glad that they haven't actually given us a trailer yet. But it has a pretty good cast starring the likes of Sophia Boutella, Charlie Hunnam, Michael Pearson, Duna Bay, Ray Fisher, Jenna May, Ed Skrin, Anthony Hopkins. I mean, and Ray Fisher's character, from what I know, is something. His character's name is some weird blood something. I don't know, some crazy name that like some badass guy would give himself, and he has like a 4 foot gun. So that's just cool in my mind. And I definitely am looking forward to this film. I think you guys should be on the lookout for it because I like that it has nothing to do with the Star Wars universe that we know. I think projects set in the Star Wars universe that have nothing to do with the Skywalker saga is something that they should keep putting out because if they flop, they flop. Just make another one. I mean, there's endless possibilities to do in this universe, and it's time to go in another direction. Whether it's just stories that have nothing to do with each other, I don't care. But another Zack Snyder project, I'm definitely on for that. So this is a Netflix release. It comes out December 22nd, and I believe it says it has limited theoretic, theoretic, limited theater releases. And apparently, this film is going to be a part one. So I'm not sure, if they're even going to go with a part two. If this film
Now,
doesn't
like
move
to
it.
everybody like that's watching, like, how do you guys feel about like part ones? Like, I mean, to me, I think it's kind of lazy. I mean, I think they're just trying to like, make as much money, as they possibly could. I mean, I personally don't mind like reserving a whole day just to watch like one like long ass movie. And I think a lot of people like are on like the same boat, with me here. Like, or do what they did in the past. Have like an intermission that like, maybe plays for like 15 minutes, and then like start up the film again. I mean, the fact that like, you gotta do like part one, like I mean, again, Mission Impossible, you're gonna sit there for like 2.5 hours, however long it is. You're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be part one, and then you gotta wait who knows how long for the second part. You know?
I think it's the problem where I guess a lot of companies or like movie studios think that people aren't flocking to the theater to go sit for 5 hours,
That
let's
is
say.
true. I mean, obviously with
Or,
with,
I mean, maybe
streaming
it could be that,
services.
but it has proven to be successful in the past with things such as you could count Infinity War and Endgame kind of as a part one. I mean, obviously, as we see, Spider Verse is going to be a part one and part two, and I know people are going to go back to see that. So it depends on a certain thing.
I
Again,
think I think one
since this
movie
is a
that
Netflix
comes
release, who knows?
I think one movie that comes to mind when, they tried to do the whole part 1 thing, is Dune. I didn't know Dune was gonna be, like, part 1, and then I feel like as soon as it came out and people went to go see it, and then, like, it left theaters, I feel like people just totally forgot that it even came out, and then, like, when you saw, like, the commercials for, like, part 2 coming out, you're like, "Oh, shit, that's right, there was a first part," and then so it's like,
It's
for
kind
s
of
for
like
some movies it works, I mean, like, for Across the Spider-Verse, like, obviously, it's kinda like a part 1, because the final part's, like, not airing, I think, until, like, next year. Um, so, again, it works for movies like that, but I think for other movies like Dune, I mean, it's not I don't think it's smart, like, 'cause I mean, obviously, like, Dune was based off, like, a book series, so it's like if you have a movie about it, and it's, like, the first movie that you ever made about this book series, I don't think you should do a part 1, part 2, like, I mean, if this is gonna be the first movie that you're doing on a book series, you should probably just have it in its full entirety, and then if it does well as a franchise, then you could go into other movies and then do, like, part 1s and part 2, like, Mission Impossible has a great track record with like its movies and audience and critic scores where it could afford to do a part one and then people will still come back and see Tom Cruise like in another film,
yeah.
you know.
I
But I
think
think
for
for
me,
some movies, I mean, especially on Netflix, like a Netflix movie, like I think I wouldn't be surprised if that movie came out and it got bad reviews just because of the fact that like it left off as a part one, you know.
again, I don't know. I don't know if there's an exact runtime.
But I feel
Uh,
like, there are some people that are avid moviegoers and they do agree with me where like they'd rather just sit there for like the whole day and have like an intermission versus like, kind of like waste like, 20, $30, and then like sit there and then like just, have to come back like, in a few months or like in a year or whatever.
well, it has no runtime yet. But what's it called? I mean, it's hard because for example, I think I think you can make, for example, say this one, is a part one, and he has another part two. they can just be separate. You know, he doesn't have to name it part one and part two. They can just have a different title, and they don't need to leave it off on a cliffhanger. Not that they may not. I don't know. It depends on what the story's about.
And like it's
Um,
always hard to like, I mean, 'cause when you split it into like part one and part two, how do you keep the momentum going? It's like if you built
hard.
up like all this momentum and then like you have to wait like a whole like year or two for like the other part to come out, like how do you keep people like hyped and how do you keep people
Well,
excited?
think about it. So, just something that comes to mind is Avatar. Avatar came out, you know, over a decade ago, and the Way of Water just came out this past December. The thing that you always saw in commercials and trailers and stuff is, going back to the big screen, relive the spectacle, the stunning visuals, and because the story is fairly simple for Avatar, and they have a lot planned. But again, it's like I don't think anybody's fiending to really go back and see Jake Sully or Natiri.
Yeah, but
I mean, it depends.
that's kind of like a different story. I mean, because like
Well, it
going
is a different
go
story, but like when you think about it in the aspect of like what keeps audiences still interested, where they're willing to wait another 4 years to see, Avatar and the Fire Clan or whatever it is, whatever the next one is. Like what, James Cameron does something in his movies that he's able to do that with his audience, but some filmmakers or some franchises they just can't do that, even if it's interesting. If like for example, you can make a film like A24 can put out a film like The Whale and Everything Everywhere All at Once, and people may want to see more from Everything Everywhere All at Once, but they're not going to make another film out of it because they know it's one and done. Same with The Whale. There's no point in doing it. So it's like sometimes I feel like when they do a part one and part two, I think they put so much into the story and they're afraid that if they cut it up, they're going to ruin it. And then if they make it too long, people aren't going to want to sit there. Kind of like Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's a 4 hour film. I mean, it's a long time to sit there and really watch a
Yeah.
film. And if it got a theatrical release, would there be an intermission? Would people really sit there for 3 4 hours and watch a film? I think
Yeah.
people would if they were really interested. I mean, again,
And then
Oppenheimer's
plus you got to
like
argue, I mean,
three and
like
a half
what
hours with trailers. Oppenheimer's gonna be.
I
You
mean,
gotta
you
set aside a
gotta
good chunk of your
you
day.
gotta argue. I mean, like, what is it really like sitting at the movies now? I mean, like most theaters have reclined seating, so you're not even really sitting in an uncomfortable chair.
Yeah,
You have your feet kicked back, you're relaxing. You got like service right to your seat. So it's like, but I don't know. I mean, anybody that's listening, in the comments, like, I mean, what do you think? I mean, do you think that these movies, should keep doing part ones and part twos, or do you think they should just, keep just, making like 3.5, 4 hour movies. I mean,
and then last
we'll
thing
we'll
closing
leave it
off
up to
with
you guys.
last thing closing off with we have some Deadpool 3 news. There have been some set photos released, and we see Ryan Reynolds back in a Deadpool suit. Looks like the exact same suit we've seen in the two other movies, just a brighter red. So I mean, I love that they're still sticking with the suit and being classic. Supposedly there was set photos released of Hugh Jackman on the set in his old Wolverine costume, but that could be fake, that could be real. Who knows? There is rumors of um, basically it being a buddy cop movie of Wolverine and Deadpool going around multiverse hopping, basically going to that whole Fox universe, such as the original Fantastic Four, Elektra, Daredevil, all those universes, and I guess just I don't know, hopping around doing stuff. So that's that should be on your radar because I think the Deadpool trilogy is going to be one of the best superhero trilogies out there, mainly because of Ryan Reynolds. And if this one is Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman together, that's a recipe for deliciousness. Um, so um, that's I mean that's all I want to talk about right now. But that being said, let's get on with our Transformers: Rise of the Beast talk.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a nice like, 40 minutes worth of just random Q&A stuff. But you know what? I mean, look, that's what podcasting is all about. People sit here for these like hour and a half episodes and they might want some movie news. So it's like, we break it up. I mean, like, not every movie is gonna require like a 2 hour, like super focused, like
Mhm.
analytical like review. I mean, Transformers. It's giant robots fighting each other. I mean, how hard is it to comprehend? I mean, you don't have to go as in depth with some movies as you do others. But you are right. Let us dive into our conversation. So, I mean, again, before we start, I mean, if anybody has any, comments or just thoughts, and if you guys want to share maybe movie news that you're excited for, drop us a comment. DM us on any of our social media platforms. You know the spiel. I mean, we'll say it at the end of the episode, but again, just keep that in mind. In case you guys want to comment, interact with us or whatever. My brother gets lonely, and he wants somebody to talk to. So I mean, just don't be shy and
Throw me under the
you
bus.
know DM him.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, okay. So let's dive into Transformers: Rise of the Beast. Okay, so it came out probably, I guess maybe what, like 3 weeks ago, 3 4 weeks
Came
ago.
it came out June 16th, I believe it was. Yes. I lied, June 9th. It came out June 9th, so it came out about a month ago. Yeah, almost about a month ago now.
Okay, and why don't you tell the wonderful viewers what it's made at the box office so far?
Okay, so far, and it's about 3.5 week run, almost month run. It has currently grossed around $350 million at the total box office. So this is considered its third weekend, and it has reached 341 million between that number and 350 million. It is on track to probably hit around 400 million. It would actually make less than Bumblebee, which hit around 467 million. But it is on track around to make the 400 million mark. I'm not sure what it cost to make the film, but I believe they already made their money back. Um, Definitely broke even, and but probably didn't make a huge profit on the film. And that could be for various reasons, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, so not too bad with money right now. It didn't have a crazy heavy opening weekend from what I know. But this is actually one of the movies that I missed out on working only because this was the weekend I actually went on vacation. So this was a movie I missed, so I wasn't sure what the weekend was like. From what I know, it was relatively busy. Other than that, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't really surprise me based on like like the budget and like how much they made. Um, I honestly think that like Bumblebee was better than this movie, so I mean it makes sense that Bumblebee would do better in the box office versus this movie. Um, so yeah, so I mean we see it doing fairly well. I mean I would be interested to see like what like the Michael Bay Transform movies did, just to kind of like compare them like side to side. Um, if that's something that you could like pull up real quick before we move on. Just to kind of like compare like the two universes and see like which one would be on track to be I guess be like the better Transformers one.
So So, Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction, the last two Transformer films that had Mark Wahlberg in it, both made over $1 billion each, and the
Hmm.
Transformers franchise has made around $5.2 billion. It is currently the 14th highest grossing film series, or I guess you could say, no, it's considered series.
Well, that would make sense. So that
Prime.
means that each Transformers movie basically made about like $1 billion because there was like 5 movies in total.
I'm looking it up right now. I'm trying to look for Transformers 2007 box office. Just because I want to see what the first film made. Um, $709 million. That is what the first Transformers made. So it made a lot of money, and this was 2007. So that was even a lot of money then. Um, Now it's definitely a big difference. It's around 300, million dollars more than Rise of the Beast currently, and I don't think Rise of the Beast is going to hit about 500 million. And there could be several reasons for that. A lot of people um, could, be thinking about nostalgia and the Michael Bay franchise. Again, it was a different universe, you could basically say, of what the stakes were, what happened, characters, and what you have it. The looks. I know some people like the looks to the Michael Bay franchise. I know some people don't like the looks. I know some people think the movies are corny. I know some people love the movies. Me personally, giant robots on screen fighting. I don't really care that much about the dialogue and stuff. I just like the look and the sound of it. I think that is in a Transformers movie. I want the cool sounds of them transforming. I want the speech from Optimus Prime, and I want fights. That's really all I'm looking for. Maybe throw Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox in there. Then you got a blockbuster hit. I mean,
Yeah.
but like we could talk about.
It's like, let's be honest, you don't really care about the humans in these movies at all. I mean, all
I
you
do
care
gotta
about.
say though that something I a lot of people didn't like this aspect of it. Rise of the Beast did focus probably the first half of the movie focused a lot on its 2 to 3 main human characters, such as the brother duo and the girl. I don't remember their names off the top of my head, so I'm sorry. But
That's how memorable they were that you don't even
yeah,
remember
Sonic
their
and
names.
Tails. I know those brother gave them those code names. But I did like the story that they were put in. Again, and I did like that the girl did like history. That relates with both of us.
I actually
Um,
preferred the girl over the brother duo, to be honest.
so the brother duo was a little corny at times. Again, little brother's sick and stuff. Big brother's got to go out there, may not come back alive. It's normal stakes of what could happen, and when they show a brother duo in a movie. But I did like the relationship aspect that they had, and I did like how it also showed a little bit of realism in life for these characters and stuff on how maybe they were treated and stuff. Um, and just a lot of again it's hard because it's a Transformers movie. You don't really want to see a lot of the human aspect, but we do see a lot of the human aspect in probably probably the first Transformers movie with Shia LaBeouf,
Well,
but
you
that's
could argue
also
that, not so much like the Shia LaBeouf Transform movies, but I feel like with the Mark Wahlberg Transform movies, there was more of like a person-centered focus. Like especially like in his first movie, I mean, it was all about like him, his daughter, and like his daughter's boyfriend.
if I'm
You
being
know,
completely honest, I don't know how the last two Transformer movies, Age of Extinction and I don't even know what the last night, made over $1 billion each because they're not good, especially
I
the
see. Like
last
I
night.
disagree. I think they're both good. Like I love those movies. Like
So
I
I
think
got no qualms.
Mark Wahlberg or those two movies are, I think, better than this movie, than Transformers: Rise of the Beast.
Okay. I got no qualms with Mark Wahlberg, but whatever. Story was the story. I think Last Night is just it's a very forgettable film, and that's kind of the problem with a lot of these Transformer movies. Is a lot of them are forgettable. Besides probably two of them. Um, and the design in the Last Night, just I didn't dig the design that they gave Optimus and
He looks better
Bumblebee.
in that movie than he does in this movie.
Oh my god, would you calm down? Stop dogging on Rise of the Beast because the Rise of the Beast designs were similar to Bumblebee, the Bumblebee designs. They were a little different, but this also was like a little different time, and they were on Earth, so it might have been a different area. Um, Personally, again, I will always watch any Transformer film, and I watched Last Night and Age of Extinction kind of often just because they're always on TV. But if I really had to rate them in my Transformers rating, they would both be towards the bottom. Um, Again, I think the first three Transformer movies, say what you want about Michael Bay, but I love the action he shoots, the explosions, and again, I feel like the characters were simple in the first three Transformer movies that we got. But if we're talking Rise of the Beast, obviously
So what
we
you're
kind
saying
of
now
have
live is that you're saying here, speaking to the microphone, you're saying that Transformers: Rise of the Beast is better than the two Mark Wahlberg movies.
yes.
Wow, wow! You heard it here now, folks, on
Okay,
Two Sons News.
audience or viewers, I would if you comment, if this is a video you comment on, this is the one you're gonna want to do. Let me know. Again, I'm not dogging on Mark
Also,
Wahlberg or
funny,
anything.
just funny coincidence. Both the last Mark World, I can never say his name the first time. Both
Rocky Mac.
both Shia LaBeouf and Mark Wahlberg's last Transformer movies both have hot British actresses in them. It's just kind of like a funny coincidence how they just gonna both have British people at the in their last films.
Yeah. But what's it called? Like I was saying, what I like about Rise of the Beast is it brings kind of a fresh new thing to Transformers in a sense of we don't see, Optimus Prime versus Megatron again. We see Unicron. And I'm not too into the Transformers lore and stuff, but as far as I know, a lot of people that love Transformers, Unicron is a big deal because he's basically like Galactus like and he eats planets and apparently
Mhm.
he's a giant transformer. That's cool. And what I really liked about this film is they didn't show him transforming or, what he would look like. And they really didn't focus a lot on him as a character.
Can
He
he
was just
actually transform?
yeah, from what I
Oh,
know,
cool.
he's just a looming threat that is like around. And we had the Terracons, Scourge and his two other friends, um, do the dirty work for him basically, against the Maximals and Autobots. So what I liked was those three groups in this film, just because I mean, giant animal robots are just cool. I mean, I don't care about, who voices them or stuff or anything like that. They're cool. I mean, once I saw Optimus Primal, I'm like, this is a giant gorilla robot. I mean, how is
It's
that
like
not
it's
cool?
very
And it's
similar
voiced by
to
it's voiced by Hellboy. Like,
it's very similar to Age of Extinction and then the Last Night
oh yeah, with the dinosaurs.
with the dinosaur transform. I mean, I don't know if they had a special name, but it's basically the same thing except like they're not prehistoric creatures. They're just like, everyday creatures that you see in the wild. So like there was a gorilla, there was a cheetah, there was a rhino, and then there was a falcon or an eagle, a falcon or an
Yeah,
eagle. So
and I do know that the eagle was voiced by Michelle Yeoh, so that's cool to see her in another film. And the Maximal Optimus Primal was voiced by Ron Perlman, who was the original Hellboy. Excuse me. And also Scourge was voiced by Peter Dinklage, and we
which that
also
was a
have
surprise. I would have never guessed that in a million
never
years. Like
knew.
if somebody asked me like, "Oh, who voiced Scourge?" I'd be like, I have no idea.
We also had there was definitely a lot of tuning there because it did not sound like him.
Well, he
But
can
we
actually get
also
pretty low, surprisingly. Like if you watch like Game of Thrones or whatever, he can get like he has a pretty naturally deep voice.
he's a great actor.
So I mean, but they definitely had to maybe have like tuned him where he had to get like really like serious, like to get like that deep.
So and we also have Peter Cullen returning as Optimus Prime. Again, it was it was interesting seeing a different side of Optimus in this film. I feel like we still saw
Well,
him as that
before
leader.
we dive more into the film, should we go over just quickly what the critic and the audience score was?
Oh yeah, we can.
Okay.
What's funny when I looked up the original Transformers, it is
Well, you know what I could
actually
do? I could do this, and then I could do this, and then I could also do this, and then
I'm not looking at your
hey,
screen. What are you doing? Oh, okay.
that way we can give our viewers an insight into Two Sons podcast.
Well, coming soon. Mission Impossible. Entertainment Miracle.
Wow, Mission Impossible at a 99%.
That's crazy. I don't know what any of those others are.
So yeah, so as you can see, we have Transformers: Rise of the Beast, 2 hours and 7 minute runtime, PG-13. So obviously we can see the tomato meter for the critic score was certified rotten and it was at 54%. See, I don't think it deserves to be this low, but at the same time, I'm not mad about it. I could definitely
I'm
see
mad.
where like I could
Because
definitely
look at
see
the critic,
why.
like because they're gonna focus on like the story and stuff like that and the interaction, but they're gonna focus on that crap. If you go back to the first Transformers is rated a 57% rotten. So it's like I don't think the Transformer movies have a good track record of really
Mm,
being like critically acclaimed
I think when it
films.
comes to
Again, it's based off of
Transformers as a
books.
franchise, like it really just matters like what the audience thinks about it, to be honest, versus what the
And
because I
it's
mean
not a bad audience
even
score.
when you look at the critic consensus, they say that thanks to some genuine human drama between the set pieces and palpable affection for the title characters, Transformers: Rise of the Beast is one of the franchise's more enjoyable outings. So with a 54%, I mean the consensus among the critics is actually pretty overwhelmingly positive. So obviously they say one of the positive things about this film is the fact that there's some genuine human drama. Um, I tend to disagree. Again, I feel like obviously as when it comes to the Transformers franchise, you don't really focus too much on the humans, because you're too busy watching the giant robots fight each other. But
Yeah.
what I do like is how they talk about the palpable affection for the title characters. So I mean, I'm assuming when they speak about the title characters. They're talking about, Bumblebee, Optimus Prime, Optimus Primal. So I agree with that part. I think they showed a lot of love. Maybe not so much to Bumblebee, but they definitely did seem to kind of flush out Optimus's character a little bit. They kind of had him going through like an internal like conflict like the whole entire movie. Um, so that was kind of interesting. I mean, it wasn't like the kind of kick-ass like lovable Optimus that we know and love. He was more like, oh, I need to go to therapy and like work out my problems Optimus. And
It's
then
a
he like
realistic Optimus. I mean,
yeah,
he's a
well, we
leader.
don't
Like
we don't want a realistic Optimus. We want like inspirational speech like
he
kicking
still
Decepticon
gave
butt
he still gave
Optimus.
inspirational speeches. Like yeah, it wasn't the same Optimus we really know like as well. And I know a lot of people had their like complaints about not Bumblebee not really being in the film. Again, he was in the beginning, not in the middle, and at the end. But this film introduced new Autobots that I guess were starting to take over the screen a little more because we've seen Bumblebee for the past what 8 movies,
See, and I'm gonna be
including his
completely
own solo
honest,
film.
like it was cool that we saw like new Autobots, right?
That's what
But
I loved. I
the
loved
fact
seeing and
that the fact that they got rid of Bumblebee, right?
get rid of
I mean,
Bumblebee. He was it.
I was about to say we kind of discussed this like off camera, where it's like I feel that the reason that they kind of took Bumblebee off screen a little bit was so they could focus on the relationship between Noah and Mirage, because I felt like
Oh yeah, it gives more heart to the film.
If Bumblebee was still around that whole time, I feel like people would have been focusing more on him and not focusing on Noah and Mirage. I get that, I understand that. But at the same time, I feel like you could have kept him in the whole movie and you still could have had that. I mean, I feel like the fact that they had to kind of get rid of Bumblebee for most of the movie and then bring him back towards the end, they kind of didn't have faith in their viewers, that like we were going to be able to focus on like the new characters like Mirage and Noah, and like we thought we were just going to be like all nostalgic bound and we're like, "Oh my God, look, it's Bumblebee. Oh my God, look, he's so cool." And we weren't going to I mean, and besides Mirage, it's like I don't even know the other two Autobots names. So it's like I wish they would have maybe flushed them out a little bit more because I would have liked to have remembered them.
Well, I think it's like a thing of like if you think of like Bumblebee's like necessity in the film, like I guess it makes sense to kind of get rid of him in the middle, just because like there really wasn't a need for him to be
It
around
wasn't
as
even
much
like
as you would have
the
thought.
I wouldn't even consider that like the middle really. They kind of like got rid of him like the first act, like right after he like Noah meets the Autobots and he goes to like get the like key, like the transportal key or whatever, like from the museum. Like that's when they kill him and like
Well,
well not
it
kill
kind of
him, like
reminds me of what is
that's
it
when they
like?
get rid of him like off screen.
It kind of reminds me of Revenge of the Fallen, I think it was, where Optimus basically dies in like the first act and is
Mm,
dead the whole film, and they try to revive him throughout the film, and they finally revive him in the third act, and he goes ham at the end of it. I
mm,
mean, different premise there. Like obviously, it was different things, but
yeah.
it gave me those vibes. Um,
Yeah,
but
and I
honestly,
think the only difference between that and like what they did to Bumblebee is like you said, it was different vibes where like even though like Optimus was like, presumed dead, he was still kind of like the whole focus like of the film because they were doing everything
yeah,
to
of course.
revive him, you know?
Honestly, I was not like I really didn't. Again, I love Bumblebee. He's not my favorite like Transformer, but like I really didn't mind him not being there, and nor did it really like take any focus off or anything. I actually really I think one of the best highlights of the film is Pete Davidson as Mirage. I really enjoy. At first, I thought his character was gonna be a little corny and stuff, but you know what? I liked him. He actually
I
had a
also
lot.
didn't realize that he voiced he voiced Mirage. I had no idea until you told me.
He actually it actually that character actually had a lot of heart towards the end of the film too. And especially if we, go into a couple of specific scenes with the two brothers and Mirage, throw Mirage in there. It's nice. It's like, nice little things. And he's kind of badass. I like his car and stuff, and I like what he can do. I like that they also brought in, hey, like he can literally make, clones of himself, or do these things. I also like that they showed a little more of the transformations where he's doing that. He's getting chased by the cops in the beginning, and he's
Mhm.
driving backwards, and then he just transforms, and now he's forward. So it's like
Yeah.
I know they've done stuff like that in the past, but it's just cool to always see that because you forget that aspect of Transformers sometimes. and everything.
See, and,
Um,
and I feel like when it came to Mirage, I mean, he was a cool character. He's a cool concept. Like his personality was like a solid 10 out of 10. Like he was a lot of fun. He was funny. Um, but I feel like they kind of did him dirty, because I feel like we didn't get to see his like total potential. Because the only
yeah,
like really big fight he has is against Scourge, which is like the one of the main protagonists of the film, and he gets his like ass kicked like right away. I mean, like throughout the
he
movie, we
reminded
see
me of
him
a
like
Jax, you know.
yeah, like throughout the movie, we see him like, you know, defeat a bunch of cops, and then like he shoots at like a couple of the Terracons and like gets involved in the fights like that. But the first time that we really see him like on screen, where it's like, oh, Mirage versus so and so, like he he gets his butt kicked, and like he does end up like obviously coming to Noah's aid, and like that's when like Noah uh dons like the Autobot suit, which was really cool. I think some parts of that sequence were a little janky and like you know it didn't look as great, but I think the concept of like a transformer or like an Autobot suit was really cool. Um, and I think towards the end of the film, like kind of bringing him back and like developing that connection with Noah even further, I think is obviously setting up for like the future trilogy that they want to build. So I mean, obviously we haven't seen the last of Mirage. He's going to be around for a while. Um, so yeah, but I mean, I think before we get any further, we talked about the critic score. So I mean, let's do a complete 360 and let's talk about the audience score. So obviously the audience score here is at a 91%. So it's not certified fresh, but it's a nice little yellow bucket of popcorn. So it's pretty healthy popcorn.
It's so
And
cool.
the audience basically said that Transformers: Rise of the Beast takes the series in a new direction without skimping on the action that fans will be looking for. I agree with the first part, but I don't agree with the second part, and we don't need this anymore. So let me just I don't agree with the first part where they say that. I mean, I'm sorry, the second part. I feel like although action was spread out throughout the film, I think that the most action and like the most important action was seen at the end of the film. I think the final act with like that whole action sequence, that's like the best part of the film, to be
Oh yeah,
honest.
well, I mean that was obviously they were gonna have a huge third act, and
Like
that's what all the
the little
trailers you
fight
saw.
the little fight at the museum was perfect. I mean, was great. Um, the little fight in the village, like, I didn't really care about. Optimus Primal having to like put down, the
Barrier.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was sad, but it wasn't like pulling me in. And then like even when they were on the highway and like they were getting chased by the Terracons, like it was all right. Like it was cool. I mean, especially when like Optimus like turns around and he's like, and that was like the prime Optimus that we wanted, where he's like, oh, he's like, I'm gonna take on Scourge and get that key. It's like, yeah, this is what we want.
Yeah.
It only lasted for like like a minute or two. And then we didn't see that again until the end of the film. So I think the film as a whole was a little lacking with their action because I think they focus so heavily on like the human story and like that part that they saved all the action for the end. So I mean, it was kind of like, again, you don't want to like totally criticize the film, but it was almost like a snooze fest, like until like the final act, and that's when like things like really got going, and it was like intense, and there was so much action, there was fighting, and it was like this happening, and then Bumblebee like comes out of a plane, and it's just like, there was so much happening, and like that was Transformers, like that is peak Transformers. If somebody was like, oh, you never seen Transformers, let me show you this. That's the part of the film that I would show them. You know?
The thing that's difficult, like when you think about like movies like Transformers, is like something that comes to mind is like Godzilla or like Kong, is like you have to throw some sort of story in there because realistically, I don't think a studio, even though they would probably love to, I think anybody, Michael Bay, whoever the hell is behind Transformers, realistically, you would want to make a story where you could include as much fucking action as possible. You know, all these transforming sequences, just all that stuff, because that's what is going to draw in your audience. But again, like Godzilla vs Kong, I don't give a shit about Millie Bobby Brown. Like her character, who gives a crap? I just want to see Godzilla and Kong fight each other. But you need that in there because realistically, I guess you can't have that happen for the movie. Again, I agree. I wish we would have seen a little bit more of badass Prime that we know. But I guess since this was kind of a prequel, you could say, to those Michael Bay films, we're seeing a little bit more of Prime's development. And I do enjoy that because it's interesting to see the Prime before, this whole thing. And it's hard to hold like a heavy weight behind this film because it's possibly the first of a trilogy. It introduces new characters, and it doesn't like what's his name? I'm just gonna call him Sonic because I don't remember the actual character's name. Sonic and Mirage, they don't hold the same
Noah.
weight.
His name was Noah
Noah.
in the film.
Noah and Mirage don't hold the same weight that Sam and Bumblebee do. Just
Yeah.
because, again, like if we think about the original Transformer movies, that first one is built around Sam's relationship with Bumblebee, with that car. And obviously, you throw the other stuff into it too. This one, you see the life of Noah, and he kind of just accidentally stumbles, similar to Sam, stumbles across, Mirage, and Mirage helps him out, and then he goes, on this because he can't find a job, and blah blah blah. If you guys see the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Goes on this journey to help save the world. But again, I feel like since the stakes are so big and like global in the first film, it's so hard to really focus deep down on these characters. So it's hard. Again, I don't. I agree with my brother in the sense where it's not action packed. There are good scenes here and there, but besides that fight at the museum and the last act, there's not crazy action. There's normal stuff we see. And again, throw in like another 20 minutes of that third act somewhere else in the film, you got me sold. I mean, I really wanted to see the Maximals in their prime, and we really only saw the Maximals
And I think that's
in
another
that
downside. I mean, because
third
I
act.
think the whole point of the marketing was like, oh, we're introducing this new type of cybernetic transformers. It's not Autobots and Decepticons anymore. There are these new things called Maximals. So you're like, oh yeah, I want to see the Maximals in action. Yeah, let's go. And then like in the very beginning, like you get that like little action sequence where you're like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. You're like, yeah, let's go. And then like you don't really see them until like the almost closer to the final act, and then you see them fight for like 20 minutes, and you're like, okay, I'm glad that they hyped up the Maximals so much, and they really only showed us what they're capable of in the last 20 minutes of the film.
If anything, we saw more of the Terracons than the Maximals,
Yeah.
which the Terracons were cool. Again, like
But you know what? At the same time, I enjoyed those 20 minutes of Maximals kicking ass better than I did like, you know, I don't know, like the scenes of like Noah and Mirage, or like even the two other Autobots that I can't think of their names.
one is Wheeljack. I know that he's the van, the one that has it. That was funny. That scene was funny. Wheeljack, and I don't know the girl's name. Fun fact: I think the female one, we all know it's a female. The
Are you gendering a Transformer?
I mean, it was voiced by a female, and she literally looked like a girl, so I'd assume so. Um, was voiced by Liza Koshy, the
Oh, like
Vine
the
star.
Vine Star?
Yeah, which is really weird.
Oh,
I wouldn't think of that.
I wouldn't even guess because it sounded
I
nothing
only
like her.
saw because I read like a cast list and stuff, and like
Oh, okay,
like
gotcha,
reviews
gotcha.
that was
So I
interesting.
mean, why don't we break it down a little bit? So let's talk about the positives. So
I gotta say, starting off, the positives of the film is the introduction of Maximals and Terracons.
mhm,
Maybe this will, as well as Unicron. Maybe
yeah.
I hope we see more Maximals in the future. I
I
really
think
do.
that's like the highest positive. I think, branching out between, the Autobots and Decepticons, and adding, the Terracons, adding the Maximals, even adding Unicron, setting him up as this like big bad villain for the whole trilogy. I think that was definitely a high. I mean, that is something that the movie did correctly. I mean, it's again, when you take such a long-standing franchise like Transformers, you start to break away, you start to add in more material, stuff we haven't seen, and then it becomes more interesting. That's what keeps people coming back. It's like, I would go back to see the rest of the movies in this trilogy because I want to see what happens to the Maximals. Are we going to see more Terracons? Are the Decepticons ever going to show up? Are we going to see more Autobots? Like, are we ever going to see, Ratchet or Jazz or Ironside again? Like, if we're talking about like, a whole nother universe, like, are they going to be alive again? Are we going to see, like Megatron or Starscream? Like, or some of the classic Transformers that we know and love. So I think they definitely did that right. I think introducing Mirage as a fun new Autobot, I think they did that right. I mean, like I said, I mean, I loved Mirage's character. I mean, his personality was great. A lot of quirk, a lot of great funny scenes with him. And I'm excited to see where he goes. I mean, it will be a little sad because it seems like they are going to be replacing him Like they're gonna be replacing Bumblebee with Mirage basically
I
as like
don't think
the
Bumblebee's
human
getting
the
replaced.
transformer human relationship because if they would have because I mean again we see Shia LaBeouf and Bumblebee that's the human transformer relationship, right? Then
Yeah,
we
of course.
see Mark Wahlberg and then we see Bumblebee again, that's the human. So it's not following the same trajectory, which makes me believe that even though Bumblebee will be like an essential part of these films, Mirage is going to be the one that has the human connection like with Noah, and like that's gonna be like the human transformer relationship for the rest of this trilogy. Um, and again, I like Mirage as a character. I like what they did with him, but I'm just there's Noah and Mirage's relationship just doesn't do it for me. Like I mean, I just there's just something about it that just doesn't kind of capture that like you know that old spark, I guess you could say. I mean, nothing is ever gonna beat Ladies Man. Okay, I mean, let's just get that right. I mean, so yeah, but I mean, I think they did Mirage good. Um, I don't know. I mean, let's see.
I do like, I do
That's
like,
that's kind of it. That's all I got.
I do like the aspect of um, kind of focusing a little bit more on Prime, and his story. Because again, everybody knows who Optimus Prime is, probably one of the most badass leaders around, and we always hear about his story in the Transformer movies, but we actually kind of hone in a little bit more on him in this, and I actually do enjoy that. I like the look. I do like the new. I don't want to say newer look, but I like the look that basically their Cybertron like looks that they had in Bumblebee. Bumblebee still was probably the best looks for Transformers, at least for like a classic Transformer look. Um, a lot of people don't like Optimus because of his face. Apparently, I heard they tried to mirror him after Peter Cullen, the guy that voices him, so that might have been a reason why he did look a little different. I do like that they went to like Peru. I think it's kind of cool to like just go to some
That
random
was
part of the
cool. I mean,
world.
like the locations were definitely cool.
Yeah, like it was a little different, and I guess it makes sense for the Maximals. Um, and again, like I don't necessarily mind the humans in this. Again, at the end of the day, I'm not there to see the humans, and it's hard to beat Shia LaBeouf and Bumblebee. That's one of the things that I think makes the Transformer movies the best, just because I think their dynamic was the best, and I think Shia LaBeouf knew how to do that with a talking robot. I don't know
Yeah.
what that man was on, but he knew how to do it.
Also, I mean,
Um,
I think another positive with the film was Scourge. I think he was a great little like
or
mini antagonist. I mean, obviously, like Unicron is like the main antagonist of the film, because the whole time they're trying to stop Scourge from, you know, bringing Unicron to Earth and eating Earth. Um, but I thought, Peter Dinklage did great. I think Scourge had a lot of potential. And I don't know. I mean, do you feel like he got defeated too easily? I mean,
no,
like,
because it reminds me of um, Revenge of the Fallen with I think the Fallen literally is his name. Optimus basically did the same thing to the Fallen where he like ripped off his mask and like that was a badass scene by the way.
yeah, it
At
was.
the end where he takes him out because you knew they're not going to keep Scourge around again. He was if
But
anything
I
maybe
think
he'll
I
come
think
back
it's a
as a
good introduction to the Terracons. Like, I mean, I think
oh for sure.
if Unicron is going to, subdue more worlds and bring more Transformers to his side and like create more Terracons, I think Scourge is a great way to kind of introduce like the threat that like even these Terracons could pose. Um, because the Terracons just do Unicron's bidding, so they don't care if you're Autobots, if you're Maximal, if you're Decepticon, they're gonna kill you either way.
Yeah.
So I think he was definitely good. His two companions I couldn't really care less about. I mean, again, they're
The
you know,
bigger one was cool. The other
I
one
don't
was
even I don't even know their names. Again, they're very similar to the other Autobots where they didn't want to limit the amount of Transformers. Like if you were gonna just have a movie with the important characters, you'd have Scourge versus Optimus Prime, Mirage, and Bumblebee. I mean that's it.
yeah.
So like they added the other Autobots and the other Terracons to kind of like flush out the characters. All of them had their own cool designs and stuff like that. Um, that was another thing. I think they designed the Transformers really well. I mean, I enjoyed all the way they looked. Even Optimus. I mean, I didn't really have a problem with his design. There was just something about him in this one that just felt off to me, which is why like I kind of like hesitated. Um, And I just think I don't think I liked PTSD Optimus Prime. It just wasn't the Optimus Prime we know and love. I mean, I understand they want to
It's
flesh out his
fine. It
backstory,
is.
but what I don't understand about it, and like this is kind of. I mean, did you have anything else positive to say, or can we go into like the negatives?
I mean, go into your negatives first, and then I'll say
Well, I
my
mean, the
positive.
negatives. I mean, at least me personally, I think one of the negatives for me was how they progressed with like Optimus's character. I mean, because again, in Bumblebee, we see the flashback where like they're on Cybertron, and he's like a badass Autobot general. He's kicking ass. He's destroying Decepticons. He's confident, whatever. And like, look, I understand. Like, they lose the Cybertronian wars. They're forced to flee Cybertron. They're being hunted by Decepticons. He feels like he failed. I get that. But it was the same situation in the Michael Bay universe. The same exact reason. They came to Earth because of the same exact reason, but you never kind of had that like
Well, you know why? I think.
not so much of a pity party, but you didn't have that like Optimus where he was like, "Oh, woe is me," he's like, "I'm a failure." Like he was all just about like bouncing back and like keeping the Autobots safe and like protecting Earth, and then
I
in this
think the
one,
reason
he kind
is
of he kind of cries for like the whole movie until the final act, and that's when he gets his shit together and he's like, "Oh, I could do this," and then
okay. I
and
don't.
then he becomes the Optimus that we know and love.
I don't. I don't think he cries, and I think the biggest thing why is even though he's been a prime for like I don't know like years and years, he they just got the Earth. Like they really only been on Earth for 7 years, and if like this takes place in what the early '90s, and we're
And then
going
like
to
1995 or something, I think.
yeah. So probably when we go to the Shia LaBeouf one, that's at least like 15 years later. So he's been
Mhm.
on Earth for a while, and he's already been through a bunch of shit. So I guess
Yeah, but
his
you could also
motivation
count 7 years as a while on
gone.
Earth.
Yes, it's a while, but for Transformer years, maybe it's not a lot. I don't fucking know. The guy's probably been around forever because he's a prime. But I guess what they're showing in that aspect is again they're showing that he is a leader in all aspects. Where yeah, he can be inspirational as hell and he can lead his troops into battle, but also Bumblebee just died and he's blaming himself, and like it actually brings that sort of human story aspect to Optimus Prime. I
Mhm.
don't know. Maybe it's because like I looked at it more in the sense of I actually like that they gave the Transformers more character because if you're not going to focus on the humans, at least give the robots, they're not robots technically. Technically, they are a species. Give them, give them, give them a story. Give
Yeah, I
them
mean,
quality,
and I mean,
just
no,
like
I
they did
mean,
with Bumblebee.
I agree. Like I mean, if you're gonna focus on the Transformers, like if you want to give them like a backstory, you want to develop like their personality and characteristics, like yeah, like of course. Um, but again, what bothered me is that like even like Optimus Primal says it. He's like, oh, the Optimus Prime that I've heard of, like you don't sound like the Optimus Prime that I know or is told in stories and stuff like that. So it's like the whole movie is almost like Optimus Prime is kind of like a former shell of who he was, and like he's trying to learn like how to cope with his failures and like figure out like that there's still things that he could do in the here and now to like protect the future of like the Autobots like and Earth. But I don't know. I mean, and again, I think it's just because if say the Michael Bay universe didn't exist, right? And this was the first we got Transformers, then I'd be like, okay, this is a good story, because it's showing how we see a defeated leader, learn to to trust himself again, learn that he has a new purpose and like he has plans for the future. But because we've already seen Optimus in five other movies, and we've seen his like character development and his personality in all those five movies, it's weird. It's weird to see him in like that defeated state because we've never seen him in that defeated state. Or we have, but again, we've already seen that. We've seen him get defeated, we've seen him get knocked down, then he gets back up. So it's like comparing it to those five movies and then seeing him in this one, like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like they kind of did our boy dirty a little bit.
I don't know. I don't know if I like think that it's dirty. I just think it's like I think because again, this is before those other five films even happened. So it's like you kind of gotta like put it aside from the five other films and see again if this becomes a trilogy, see how it progresses. Because all we've known Optimus as is that strong leader and everything. So it's a little different seeing him like this. And again, like I definitely want to go back and rewatch it mainly because of the fights and stuff. And I probably will. If not, I'll watch it online or something. And I'll look more for his character and stuff. But that aspect of it, I just feel like it was kind of like we were zoning in on what it's really like to like. be this sort of leader that
I mean,
he's
I
always
I
been.
agree with
He's
what
always
you're
been a
saying. I
prime,
mean,
and he's probably lost tons and tons of soldiers. Obviously, we see it in Michael Bay, and I'm sure if you go to the comics or the TV shows or the animated movies of Prime, I'm sure he's lost several people and shit has
yeah.
happened.
No, I
But
mean, I agree with what you're saying. Like, I do. I think it's just, it's almost easier said than done. It's almost like, oh, just remember that, this movie takes place before the Michael Bay universe. So like just know that this is what Optimus was like in the beginning. Like it's easier said than done, when you've already seen the five movies and you've grown accustomed and to who Optimus is, and then you see him like this and you're like what is going on? It's like where's the Optimus we know and love? Like that's what's hard for people, and that's probably why some people maybe have their own opinions about the film because they kind of think the same way I do. But it's kind of hard just to be like, okay, forget about all those five movies that I saw. Just act like I'd never seen Optimus before, and then just look at him at like a new character. Like it's hard. It is. Like I mean, it's again, it's not so simple as just being like, okay, well, this takes place in another universe or a different like multiverse, and this is a different version of Optimus, and this is who he is in this universe. Like it's it's weird. Like it's almost like if you didn't have Bumblebee talking for all those five movies, and then like all of a sudden he just started walking around in this movie, and he's like, "Oh, hey guys, what's up? What's going on?" Like, and he just started talking. I mean, it's kind of like the same thing where it's like, oh, like this is a different universe, so like he might talk in this one, but it's like you've already seen this character like five different times. It's hard to like reimagine them as like a different character. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, I get it. I I don't know. I mean, I feel like when I look at this film, then again, like when I go back and like I I look at like I really wasn't thinking of like the Michael Bay films like when I saw this, nor was I thinking of like The Last Night or Age of Extinction or whatever it was called. And honestly, when I think of like The Last Night and Age of Extinction, I just really don't even think about them because like yeah, they're like kind of cool. I like the dinosaurs in the first one, and like the second one, I really don't even know what the story is. I know King Arthur's in it or something.
Can I can
Um,
I can I do a hot take here?
if you say those films are better, I just you can't this especially the last night is just not you can't argue for the last night. I mean, I just if you say it's better, I wouldn't agree.
Well,
You
I'll give you
know,
two hot takes. I'll give you two hot takes. Okay. One, I think the final act battle sequence is better in The Last Night than it is in Rise of the Beast.
what's your second one?
And then the second one is that I think the prehistoric Transformers are better than the Maximals.
We didn't see in my mind we didn't get to see enough of the
I'm sorry, but
Maximals.
Robot Gorilla or Robot T-Rex?
I get it. Yes, I like dinosaurs more than I like regular animals, but if I could see more, because what I liked about the Maximals is they could they were animals, but they
Yeah,
also transformed into actual kind of
yeah.
transformers, similar to what the
Didn't the dinosaur ones do that too?
yes, that's what I was just gonna
Yeah,
say that they
no, I thought
also
they
did
did.
that too, but they were more of like a alien like they didn't actually like talk like as they spoke some random
They were
language. I
they
don't know.
they were like the definition of like primal transformers. Like they were like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
very
Like,
they
I
were like
like them. I
they were
think
very primitive, like versus like like the well the thing is you don't know where the prehistoric transformers come from. I mean, we know like the Maximals, they come from a totally different planet. They're not even from Cybertron.
oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
so it's like they're completely different from like Autobots and Decepticons. So, it's kind of hard to like lead them in the same thing as like the prehistoric dinosaur ones and then the Maximals because they're I guess species. They're two different species of Transformers, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean it's I like the dinosaurs, like but I don't know. I also like the Maximals. Um, for me, it'd be hard to decide between those two. Like I would if I could see more of the Maximals, I might argue more. But the
Yeah.
dinosaurs were cool. I honestly don't remember the last night fight scene, like besides Bumblebee and Optimus fighting.
Well, remember they have to like go like confront like that giant spaceship with that like
Yeah, like I know of
woman
it. Like I know
transformer.
like the basic, but I can't
The
envision
only
it
the
in
only
my head just being like
why I
Optimus.
like it better than Rise of the Beast is because like it reminded me of like okay, you take Transformers, you take D-Day, and then you combine them together. I mean, that's basically what it was. It was basically like the Autobots and like the humans like basically storming this like whole like Decepticon like evil fortress, and it was like they were taking cover behind barriers and they were like destroying bunkers, and then like each of the Transformers had like one-on-one like different combats, and then like Optimus Prime went in, and then like Bumblebee went in, and it was just like super epic. And that one little like tiny like Transformer with like the giant like robo cannon arm like just went up to a bunker and just blessed the shit out of it.
I honestly don't remember, so I don't know. Um, I just I don't know. Those are interesting hot takes. I'll get back to you whether or not I agree with them or not.
Because like
For
remember
now,
you got like the remember like that scene in like the movie where like you got those like attack helicopters, and like all the servicemen they like take their patches off because they're
oh
like
yes,
going
yes,
rogue.
I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about, but I just can't completely envision it yet. So that's why
yeah.
like I can't tell you. I'd have to watch the scene
But
again.
you know what? This is Two Cents Podcast where we throw in some spice.
You want to
Um
throw in some spice?
okay, so I mean let's see. I mean that was the first negative. And then really the only other negative that I had, to be honest, were the humans.
I
I
get it.
Noah and his brother, I mean, their relationship was nice. I mean, everybody loves seeing like a brotherly relationship. But I just didn't like Noah as a character. Um, you know, again, their brother bond and like their family bond was like special, and like that was something that I liked about his character. Um, but then when you really think about it, it was kind of pointless because, well, maybe I don't know, because it's like they show the importance of his relationship like with his brother and his family like in the beginning of the film, and then he goes off to like save the world, and then you could argue that he's going to save the world because of his family and whatever. Yeah, we get that. Um, but I don't know. I feel like the whole family aspect and like his like you know beginnings, like kind of I don't know. They kind of got like thrown out like when he went to go like help the Transformers. I don't know. I didn't like his character. I There wasn't really anything that drew me to his character. I think when you look at Transformers as a whole, he's probably the worst human. Like when it comes to Transformer films. But I preferred the girl more. I thought the girl was the more compelling character. Because she was the one that was doing the research like on the artifact. Um, and so, I mean, if I had to choose between like which one was the main character and then which one was like the side character, like I'd rather have her be the main character, because it's like, oh, it's like you just take this like classic, museum intern, and then she stumbles upon this ancient artifact, and then she finds out it's linked to the Transformers, and then they come looking for it, and then she gets involved with the Autobots, and then she helps them like get the key back. Like I think that would have been for a more interesting story, and then you still could have had like Noah like come in as like a common thief. Like maybe instead of him like stealing Mirage, like he tries to steal that thing, and then that's how he gets roped into the whole like Autobots thing. And he's like, "Oh, I'm doing it for my family" or something. I don't know. They could have put some spin on it or whatever. But yeah, I just the human thing wasn't with me for this one. And then I think unlike other Transformer films, they tried to put more of a importance on the human relationships, than they did like the Transformers. And I think that's what like kind of like lost me with the film, because a lot of the film does focus on the humans. Like I feel like the humans get a lot more screen time than the Transformers do. Even in the final battle sequence, I mean, you have Noah getting more screen time than literally the whole entire battle. There's a whole badass battle scene going on for the last 20 minutes, and the whole time you're just focused on Noah climbing through like these little vents, like on a bridge. I mean, like it took away from the whole battle scene. I mean, we could have got more minutes of like Autobots and
I
Maximals
don't,
kicking
I
ass.
don't think it was that. You're thinking it was long. It was not that
And then
long.
that whole like Autobot suit thing was stupid. I mean, the design was really cool, but he just didn't know how to use it. And then like the
Because
whole
he just
time,
got
the
it.
whole the whole time he was like, oh, he's a soldier, he's a veteran, like so he has combat experience. But it's like he doesn't. I mean, what does he do? He just basically he lets Optimus fight Scourge, and then he's just in the background like pew 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 pew
Because
pew.
what is he gonna go and take on Scourge? Wouldn't you want to see Optimus take down Scourge? I don't
Yeah,
know.
of course, but like they wanted to get him involved, so they had him on the side like just shooting his toes or something like that.
Well, yeah, yeah, of course. They really didn't use him until the end. I mean, I get it. Like, it's hard to. It's realistically hard to make human characters interesting in a movie where you're not really wanting to focus on the human characters. Like me personally, I don't mind Noah. I mean, is it my favorite? No. Is it my least favorite? I don't know. Um,
Wow, you would really put Mark Wahlberg last?
Yeah, I really. I mean, I love Mark Wahlberg, but again, I have my qualms with those last two
What do
movies.
you got against Marky Mark?
I don't have nothing against Marky Mark. I love him in Ted. Um, but what's it called? Uh, again, the girl. Sorry, I don't remember her name. I thought again she was probably more interesting than Noah. I like. They kind of touched
She was
upon.
also more useful than Noah. I mean, she basically figured out like the whole thing, and like basically
Yeah.
she basically saved the world. I mean, let's be like she found out where the other part of the key was. She figured out how to stop the whole like tower thing from bringing in Unicron. I mean, so she basically did all the work.
What I liked about the probably one of the best things I liked about Noah was kind of how they touched upon the relationship he had with his brother, but also kind of turned it into the relationship that he built with Mirage, and then kind of like told those two stories hand in hand throughout the film, and especially at the end of the film. I thought that was nice. But again, the humans, even though they were more of a focal point, they were more of side characters to me. So I do get that, and spoiler alert coming ahead. One of my biggest things that I don't really care for because I don't know if it's gonna go anywhere is the post credit. I don't even know if you consider it a post credit scene,
Well,
but
that was gonna be like my final negative take because I just kind of agree with you. Like, I don't know why they included it. I feel like they're just trying to get this trilogy off the ground, and they're like, you know what we should do? Instead of just sticking to Transformers, why don't we just add another franchise to our already established franchise? And I mean, yes, I know these two franchises have like coexisted in the past and like comic books and like other stories, but do I think it's necessary? No, and I think it's going to cause more problems down the road because now they have to figure out like, okay, how are they going to both incorporate Transformers and spoiler alert, GI Joe? So it's like,
yeah,
how are they supposed to take these two well-known franchises and put them together and make sure that they both get enough screen time and like that you're focusing on like all the important characters and stuff like that, and it's just I don't know. I mean, who knows if Noah will even take the job? I mean, because like obviously, post credit, Noah is still looking for a job. He goes to this job interview. He gets taken into a back room, and you find out that the guy that's doing the interview actually works for the GI Joe, you know, sector or like whatever they call themselves, like foundation. Basically implementing that like, oh, they're making GI Joe like exist in the same universe as Transformers. Now, like they can go a couple different ways. I mean, they could just make that post credit to make that post credit and be like, oh, hey, look, we're paying homage to the comic books, and the G.I. Joe universe is also in the Transformers universe. Or they're going to go forward in the trilogy by like making G.I. Joe a bigger part of the trilogy. Like maybe Noah takes the job there. So then they're kind of like the Sector 7 of like this, universe, basically. So it's like, how does that fit in? I mean, are we going to see like any of the classic, G.I. Joe characters? Like, I mean, so there's a lot of
I hope not.
questions. It brings up a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, a lot of plot holes, and I don't know. I mean, I think it's something they could have maybe saved for like the second movie, or I don't know. I mean, or maybe if they would have planted seeds like throughout this movie, it would have made a little bit more sense. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's just too much of a curveball. And I mean, I know there are probably some like old timey nostalgic comic book fans that are just like, fuck yeah, like we're gonna get GI Joe and Transformers, but we never read the comics. I mean, we were more into Transformers than we were GI Joe. I mean, we've seen the movies, but again, just like Transformers, we never watched any of the animated shows, never watched any of the animated movies. All we've
But the
seen for
GI Joe
Transformers and
franchise
GI
is
Joe were like the live action movies. So it's like,
GI Joe
we
franchise is dead. Snake Eyes bombed. I mean, it's not. It's not going to do good again. If they continue in a trilogy, I hope this post credit either leads nowhere, or I hope they're just in the background and they really have no focal point. Because again, I don't want to see Snake
I
Eyes.
mean, if
I don't
they
want to see
became
any
like
of
the
those
Sector
characters.
7 and like, they kind of offered like the human support that they did in like the Michael Bay universe, like then yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind because then they're
That's
like
fine with
background
me.
characters,
You know?
they're like the army basically, I mean,
Yeah.
helping out the Autobots. I wouldn't mind that. I mean, because it's basically the same thing as those army guys in, the Shia LaBeouf franchise, in the Mark Wahlberg one. It'd be the same thing, but except they're just GI Joe. I mean, I wouldn't mind that. I mean, I think it would be cool then to know that like oh, those army guys are GI Joe and they're fighting with Transformers. I mean, I think that would be cool. That would be the only way I would accept like GI Joe going into this like Transformers trilogy.
Yeah. So I mean, That was probably the last negative. I really got no other negatives. Again, I do like this film. Um, there's a couple of negatives towards it. There are positives towards it. Um, is it my favorite in the franchise? No. What does it rank in my list? I don't really know yet. Maybe towards the middle, probably as of right now. I really got to go back and rewatch the original ones and the Marky Mark ones. Um, just because I do enjoy a lot of the fight scenes in um, all the Transformer films. I think those are the biggest highlights of it. But I just feel like it'll be hard to ever bring in, if they do another trilogy, it'll be hard to get it to what it was with the Shia LaBeouf trilogy. Just because I feel like I don't know, there was something special about that trilogy, regardless of like how like good the story was or whatever. It's just
If I
Sam and
had
Dee
to,
and just Megatron Optimus. It's a classic thing.
yeah,
It's something you're gonna love. Whether they bring Megatron into this, whether they bring you know other characters like the ones we saw in that trilogy to this, that's cool. If
mm,
they bring new Autobots in, just like they did with Mirage, I'm cool with that too. Let's just see where it goes, though. Again, I don't know if it's gonna go anywhere, and if it goes into a trilogy and the second one bombs, then I honestly don't have hope for the future of Transformers.
yeah. I mean, if I had to give like my own Transformers list, I think at number one, do you remember what was the second Shia LaBeouf film called? Was it Dark of the Moon?
It was Dark of the Moon, and I think the last one was no, sorry, Dark of the Moon.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
Revenge of
Dark
the
of the
Fallen.
Moon, then Revenge of the Fallen. I think actually no, Revenge of the
I
Fallen was the second one.
Okay, well, which Transformers movie had like the epic fight in the desert?
That would be what between the. I believe
Like the
that's.
one where they like revived Optimus.
I'm pretty sure Dark of the Moon. Dark of the Moon is that was 2000. Oh no, Dark of the Moon is the last one. Sorry. So Revenge of the Fallen is the second one.
Because whichever one that one was, like, I mean, I remember it obviously still had Megan Fox in it. Like, there's that shot where like Shia LaBeouf is like dead, and then he gets like revived, and like she's like looking over him.
Oof, that one got a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. Revenge of the
Oof.
Fallen. That's rough. Yeah, that was the one in like Egypt or something.
Do you remember which one that was?
Oh, when they're reviving Optimus?
Yeah.
Revenge of the Fallen.
Was it really
What?
Revenge of the Fallen?
It wasn't the first one, and Dark of the Moon took place like in the city, so I don't remember them being like
So
in.
Dark of the Moon must have been with the British girl, where like Shia LaBeouf and like that army squad, they go like
Yes,
like
that's
okay.
that's Dark of the
Yeah,
Moon.
so honestly, I like Revenge of the Fallen. So like Revenge of the Fallen would be like my top one. Like I really do enjoy that movie. Then I'd have the original Transformers as my second, and then I'd have Dark of the Moon as my third, and then I'd have Marky Mark at fourth with Age of Extinction with when they introduced the dinosaur ones, and then
Okay.
I'd have his second movie fifth, and then I'd have this movie at last. Actually, no, I'd have Bumblebee, and then I'd have this movie last.
I do not agree with Bumblebee near the bottom, nor do this, but I'm not gonna give a list because I honestly wouldn't know my list off
Well,
the top of my head.
if I really had to like do it again, I would put Bumblebee at least fourth. I would put Bumblebee over the Mark Wahlberg movies. Is
That's
that
fair.
fair? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I
So,
mean, hey, like I don't I don't gotta agree with your list. You don't gotta agree with mine whenever I make one.
well, I will stand by that the Mark Wahlberg movies are better than Rise of the Beast, so they will always go over Rise of the Beast for me. But I could make the case for Bumblebee being better than both those movies.
We might revisit this topic after I re-see the Marky Mark ones,
Dude,
because I
I'm
mean,
telling
again,
you, the Marky Mark ones were not bad. I mean, I think people gave it a
I
lot
don't
of
have a
unnecessary
problem with
hate for no
them.
reason. I mean,
I don't
I
have a
think
problem with them, but again, I just don't. The way you're talking about it, I just don't remember it being. Again,
like
like
it's not
the way
gold. I
you're
mean,
talking about it makes it seem better than the Shia
They
LaBeouf
are
ones.
they are
And then,
not they are not gold. Okay, they will never be better than the Shia LaBeouf ones. Okay, even the ones with when they replaced Megan Fox and they brought in the British girl. I mean, all those movies are still better than the Marky Mark ones. But they're not again the Mark Wahlberg ones. They do the best with what they got. I mean, they're like they're almost a close second. to the Shia LaBeouf ones, and I think they bring a lot more to the table than Rise of the Beast. I mean, again, this trilogy is only one movie in, so when we revisit this conversation when the next one comes out, I could have a totally different opinion. But I mean, when when you're looking at like the Mark Wahlberg duology and then the first one of this trilogy, I don't know. I think the Mark Wahlberg one has a little bit more ammunition right now to have it be better than you know Rise of the Beast, because I don't think Rise of the Beast or this trilogy has enough ammunition behind it to have a strong argument. Like you cannot sit here and tell me that this movie has enough ammunition to be better than both the Mark Wahlberg movies. I mean, first of all, in I think um when it comes to the Mark Wahlberg films, I think there's oh god, I forget what the villain's name is, but it was like in the first one where it was like that Transformer was like just hunting down like all the Autobots, like he killed like Ratchet.
Mhm.
Like I don't remember what that guy's name was, but he's like 10 times better than Scourge.
I mean, I mean, yeah, he is a cool
And you're
character. I
really
mean,
gonna sit here and you're really gonna tell me that Rise of the Beast is better than these two movies?
honestly, I mean, probably, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. Again, I have not really looked at Age of Extinction and what the hell is it? Last night, like critically, in a while, and like when at least
I
me
mean, you
personally, when I first
honestly,
saw
I'll give you
the
that.
Mark Wahlberg
You
movies, I
can
was not a fan.
I'll give you that. You can make the argument for why Rise of the Beast is better than Last Night, but it is not better than Age of Extinction.
I'll have to rewatch Age of Extinction to determine it. Again, I
Well,
don't know
guys,
off the top of my
let us
head.
know in the comments what Transformer movies you love, and do you think that the Marky Mark duology was better than Transformers Rise of the Beast? I would really love to see some
I would
comments
really
on
love to
this.
see it too.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the last thing we just got to touch about, which I mean, you kind of already touched upon, is where do we think the Transformers franchise is going? And I mean, obviously, we see that there are plans for them to make a trilogy out of this. And then, I guess, to our speculation, I mean, based on how Transformers Rise of the Beast performed, the reviews it got, how much it made in the box office, do we see a positive future for this new trilogy? Or do we see it kind of like crashing and burning before it even begins?
Mm,
And I mean, right now, it's not looking great. I think if it would have made almost 500 million, we'd be talking a little bit differently. You could argue that there was other things at the box office that were like taking attention away from it, which maybe didn't allow it to make too much money. Um, but I think right now, and especially with the fact that they're introducing the GI Joe franchise into this trilogy, there's a lot of speculation in the air. I mean, as a lover of Transformers, I would really love for this trilogy to do just as well as like, Shia LaBeouf or whatever. But right now, I think, in my personal opinion, it's a little rocky. I mean, the only thing is that we'll just have to kind of wait and see, and then we'll have to wait until the next one comes out.
yeah. Honestly, I think that the future is unclear. I don't necessarily think it's dark nor bright right now. If this was the first of the trilogy, I don't think it's a bad film to start off on. It just depends on what they do with it now. Again, I think if it did not have that post credit scene, I would probably say it's a good step towards a trilogy. But since it has that post credit scene, it makes me a little nervous on what direction they're gonna go. And I want them to bite off more than they can chew. Um, but I'm hopeful for bringing back maybe some old faces. I'm hopeful for newer characters, newer development, um, and just more badass fights, and maybe even more introduction of these different transformer like characters that we might get to see. Um, but I'm hopeful for the future, but you know it's just hard because again, Bumblebee did not come out super long ago. I mean, I think maybe kind of long ago, 2018, I think, right?
Yeah, it's been about I mean, it's been a
Been almost
solid like
five
probably like
years.
4 or 5 years.
So, I mean, a while ago, and they still made Rise of Beast, and so obviously it shows that there's still people out there that like Transformers. and are, want to watch it. I don't know if kids are super into it as much as they were in the past, just because there's so much more stuff now that people can watch.
Mhm.
Um, but I guess we just got to see what direction they
I
go in.
would
Hold
love to
let us
see
know
some
what plans
like
they have.
I would love to see some like prequel films. Like, I mean, take me like right back to Cybertron, like before the war broke out. Like, I mean, I would love to see like just pure like Transformer on Transformer action. I mean
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
that one like flashback scene from like Bumblebee. Like, give me like a whole like 2.5 hour movie of that, and like, I mean, you got my money. Like, I mean, so but I agree. I mean, I think we're just gonna have to simply wait and see. It's kind of too early to tell, but I think both of us would want to see this trilogy succeed because we do love Transformers. So I would really hate for this franchise to take a turn for the worst.
Yeah,
Um, but in the case that it does, you know what? Then these movies never existed, and it's all about Michael Bay. that's
yeah,
that's how people will probably look at it. So,
pretty much.
but yeah, I mean, I think we're at that point where we can kind of just give our final reviews. Um, so I mean, I'll go first. I think out of 10 Suns, I'd probably give this. I'm gonna give this like a 6 out of 10. I was thinking if it was better than Indiana Jones, but I think I liked Indiana Jones. Mm, that's another conversation. Is this better than Indiana Jones? I'll give it like a 6.5. Because I think it was almost as good as Indiana Jones, but it lost points with certain things. Again, as a Transformers lover, I would love to give it a higher score, but I mean, me personally, I mean, although there were some great positive things in this film that we covered, I think the negative kind of outweighed it, and it doesn't like give it that shine that it deserves. But like I said, I mean, hopefully the future of this trilogy will be brighter, and I'll be giving it a higher score. But I think right now it's at least a 6.5 suns out of 10 suns. So we got about six full suns, and then maybe like a half sun. So it's like a partly cloudy day.
Um, I'm probably gonna go with 7.4
Oh, you're so
out of
weird.
10.
What's the point
Um,
four? Like, why can't you just be point 0.5? Why do you gotta be point 0.4?
we like to live life on the edge here at Two Sons Podcast. Um, Again, it's good, but there are some things that tip it down. There are some things that tip it upwards. I definitely think I like it a little more than my brother. Um, but I mean, obviously we're both fans of it. I think I was just I don't know. I think I was just happy to see Transformers again. So maybe he was clouding my mind. I definitely want to go see it again though. So maybe I'll get an updated version soon. But yeah, no, I'd probably give it a rating around there. I think that's pretty fair, at least in my opinion. And other than that, if you guys have not seen the film yet, I recommend definitely go seeing it. Again, if you are anywhere around our age, I'd assume you watched Transformers when you were a kid. If you didn't, go and watch it. It's giant alien robots fighting, and who don't like
Now,
that?
I
Plus, they
mean, let
also
me let
turn
me
into
give
cool
you let
cars.
me give you a rebuttal. So, I mean, obviously we gave it like a critical score, but if you had to give it a personal score, what would you give it out of 10 suns? Like, I think I would give it like I think I would bump it up to like a 7.5. I mean, because it was still an enjoyable film to watch, because like you said, it's giant robots, fighting each other. So I think if I was just watching it like as a fan, like, just like the audience score, like my score would be higher. Because there were parts that I didn't enjoy, but overall I did enjoy the film. I thought it was a good film. The same things that were wrong like in my critic score would be wrong like in my personal score. But I think if I had to give it like my own personal score, I'd probably bump it up a little bit. So, my critic score would be like a 6.5, and like my personal score would be like a 7.5.
I'd probably give it like an 8.5.
Wow.
If we're talking like personal score, yeah, I think I would make it an 8.5.
Interesting.
Keep it spicy.
It's kind of generous there. Wow.
I don't think it's generous because it's the personal score, so it's what we personally think. But so it's
Now,
facts.
I guess like comparing it to like movies that like came out this year and like stuff that we've seen. Transformers: Rise of the Beast. It's probably lower on the list, of things that have came out this year and like, how good they are. I mean, obviously at the end of the year, I would like to do like a 2023 like movie list where we kind of just like, see which movies were the most popular, which ones didn't do that great. Um, Obviously Across the Spider-Verse is way better. Indiana Jones I think is better. Um, but I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, we're already like halfway through 2023, so it's like it's kind of hard to figure out what movies have came out like in the beginning of the year. Um, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, there's still a lot to come out for the rest of the year. I think Transformers will definitely be like more like maybe like a mid-tier movie that came out throughout the year. It wouldn't shock me if it was a little bit lower on the table, but I mean, this is kind of like a decent year for movies. So I mean, it's got a lot of competition. Like I said, I think if like Across the Spider-Verse wasn't out and like The Flash didn't come out and there wasn't like other stuff competing with it in the box office, I think
The
it probably would
Flash,
have broke at least half a billion.
I heard the Flash wasn't even good. Like I don't even know how much money the Flash made, but I think the Flash made around this. Actually, I'm looking at it now. I don't even know
Yeah.
if the Flash broke
Because I was
400
gonna say,
million.
like, I think if those movies weren't in theaters and like the only thing to go see was like Transformers, I think it would have broke at least half a billion. But I think because it had other stuff to compete with, especially Across the Spider-Verse, I think that's what kind of killed it. So it's one of those like what if scenarios. But I mean, we'll see where it stands, when it comes to the movie tiers at the end of the year.
Why is it Flash
And
current
then we'll see how much Flash made.
box office? It's not like showing.
But yeah, while Joey's finding that, that kind of wraps up our lovely conversation on Transformers Rise of the Beasts. So we hope you guys enjoyed our return to our podcasting schedule. I don't know what episodes we have coming out in the future. My brother's been wanting to do like a live action Disney movie one. So that will be kind of interesting. Similarly how we kind of did like the Pixar bracket, we just kind of want to talk about like live action Disney movies and if they've been like beneficial, if they're good, if they're bad, what's the future of them. Something like that. So if you guys are, interested in seeing that, leave a comment, let us know down below. If you have any other suggestions, for any topics or whatever, we'd love to hear from you guys. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. I mean, eventually when he sees Across the Spider-Verse and Indiana Jones, we'll do episodes on that. And then we got like tons of other different like bracket ideas and stuff like that to cover. Um,
And
so we got a bunch of stuff for the rest of the summer.
it's made. It hasn't even made 300 million. It's made
Okay.
249 million.
So yeah, so Transformers has performed better at the box office.
I'm very surprised that they are not doing well. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. Some people say it's great. Some people say it
I mean,
sucks.
I'm not surprised. I mean, it seems like it was really
I think
popular
it's because
like
of
the
everything going on around it.
it
Maybe
was
it's
really
not
popular
pushed to
like the weekend it came
125.
out and then like after it came out like I haven't really even like heard of it.
It's just it's been so hard because it was Spider Verse, Transformers, Flash, and then what the hell was after Flash? What was the end of June?
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. I mean, there was so much stuff that came out in June that again, Transformers is still playing, but not the only things that's actually playing on the big screens, at least in my theater, is Sound of Freedom. Actually, no, not even Insidious, Indiana Jones, and if you're counting like the big theater, Insidious,
Well, definitely
maybe
Across the
three.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and Across Spider-Verse. That's it. Those are the only three movies that are actually playing on the big screens. Like they're all on the big screen, but I'm talking like 300-person
Yeah, I
theaters
know
as
what you
opposed
mean.
to
Like, like the
70.
smaller,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
smaller, the smaller theaters are like showing like Transformers and like the Flash and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah. So like
I mean, I would
maybe
still like, I would still like to see the Flash.
yeah, I want to see it. I mean, again, like as far as regardless of like the shit around it, I mean,
Because
I
I'm just
heard
kind of
it's not
curious to see,
bad.
like, I'm kind of curious to see like how that point in the DC universe like ends. That way I could see like what, you know, the James Gunn universe is going to lead up to.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, like, while he was talking, like I said, let us know what you guys think. Leave some comments and some suggestions down below. I was just telling them about your, live action Disney episode that you want to do.
yes, yes, I am. That might be the next one because I feel like it would be a very fun episode to talk about.
Yeah, and it would make sense. I mean, because we have the Haunted Mansion movie coming out, so I mean, it would be good to talk about like a live action Disney episode, before that movie comes out, just to see, I mean, how on trend they've been. Like, have they been pretty positive? Did they do well? Which do you prefer? Like, do you prefer the cartoons or do you prefer the live action? I mean, we'll do a whole episode like breaking it down and stuff. I don't feel I
Disney
feel like
has
I feel
so
like a
much
lot of people
money.
don't. I feel like a lot of people don't talk too much about the live action Disney movies. So I mean, it'll be a good topic to cover.
Disney has so much money that they have to make so much money to like make their money back. But that's something for another
Yeah,
time.
and maybe I'll see if we could even do like a bracket thing. So like maybe I'll see if they have like a
I'll
Disney live
definitely look
action
up the
bracket,
Disney
and
movie.
then we
That'd
could
be
do
really
like maybe we could do like a bracket episode for that. So or maybe we could do like a half bracket and like half of us talking about it. Like I don't know. We'll figure it out. But most likely that will be the next episode. So I mean, just be on the lookout for that. Um but yeah, I mean that pretty much brings us to the end of our conversation. So thank you guys once again for tuning in and listening as always. This has been our episode where we talk about Transformers: Rise of the Beast and talk about Transformers as a whole and see where the future is heading. So, best of luck, fingers crossed. I'm excited to see what they're going to be putting out, and we'll be reporting back with Transformers news as the movies come out. So, this will probably be like the end of like Transformers talk for now, unless like we decide to do like episodes on like the Mark Wahlberg duology or like the Shia LaBeouf trilogy. Um, but just stay active on the socials. My brother will post any movie news or any news on like the podcast and what episodes we're putting out. So speaking to the socials, great segue. We are Two Sons Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. At Two Sons Podcast. That has been an O, not a U, because we are two brothers. We are also on YouTube at Two Sons, and again, that is with an O, not a U, because we are two brothers. Um, and we're not technically on TikTok, but the personal TikTok that I have, I do like post like I do make posts, just kind of like talking about like our podcast and just when episodes come out. So technically we're not on podcasts, we're not on TikTok, but I do make posts about it. So if you happen to see one of them, across your TikTok feed, that was me. But I mean, a decent amount of people view them. I mean, you get a couple hundred and something people view it, every now and then.
Not too
So
shabby.
whether they tune in or not, I mean, that's entirely up to them. But I put it out there for people to see, and they do what they want with that. So yeah, like I said, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all under Two Sons Podcast. Again, that's with an O, not a U, because we're two brothers. I guess that makes sense. Um, DM us, comment, tell us what you guys are thinking, interact with us, give us any ideas, suggestions. My brother, you know, usually posts, any podcast updates, any movie updates or things. He's always tweeting stuff out on Twitter. He's always, posting stuff on Facebook or Instagram. He's not the best at it sometimes, but he does his best. So just follow us on there, be on the lookout and you'll find out all the cool stuff that's happening. Um, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. It's good to be back. I don't think we're really gonna say whether we're sticking to a strict schedule or not. We're just gonna try to find the best days to record, and the episodes will come out when they come out. Like I said, I mean that's what the socials are for. So I mean he'll post on the socials, let you guys know when the episodes come out, and then you can watch at your leisure. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I had fun as always. I'm looking forward to our next conversation. And whenever you're listening to this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, please be safe. Please be safe. Excuse me, if I could talk. Please be safe. Have a good day, and we will see you all in the next one.
Yes, everybody. Please bear with us again. I know we said we try to have a set schedule, but it's just so hard. With work, school, whatever you got, anything else. But again, I will do my best to try to keep up with the socials and at least put out whatever I can for you guys, just to keep an ear, keep an eye out. Most likely every week we're still gonna post something, regardless if it comes out on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or even the weekend. So be on the lookout for that. Put the notification bell on, your Spotify, your Apple Podcasts, YouTube, whatever you listen to us on. definitely put that on. It'll let you know right when we post the episode, or go ahead and check those socials if you're devoted to that. Send us DMs, send us even comment on, what you thought about the episode, comment on the post or what you think. We love any sort of interaction, whatever it is, hopefully positive. But we love all that stuff, guys. So hope to see more of that in the future. Thank you everybody for tuning in again to another episode of Two Sons Podcast, where we went over Transformers. Very excited to be back on and do it. It's always fun to forget about everything else and do our podcast. So once again, guys, thank you so much. You will find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where all your podcasting needs are. Pretty much every app on there. We are on all under Two Sons Podcast. So the Sons with an O, not a U, because we are two brothers. Once again, please stay safe. Please have fun. Drink some water. Eat some yogurt. If you haven't, this is an ad. Try some Chobani Flips. Pretty solid. I'm not a breakfast guy myself, but I've been eating them.
Oh, and sorry, before we close out the episode, shout out to what we are ambassadors of, W Energy. They got some great products over there. Pretty simple, just www.wenergy.com. They got some great flavors. They got a couple like starter kits, starter packets where you get like I think it's like a shaker. You get these like little packets and you get to like kind of like try out the flavors before you buy them. I have yet to get any flavors. When I get them, I get them. But I want to keep talking about them and keep endorsing them. Let you guys know that they're there and that they exist. So yeah, so go check them out. They're on TikTok, they're on Instagram. Just W Energy. Like I said, if you happen to buy anything, go to checkout, use our code Two Sons, again with an O, not a U, and then I think you get like 10% off your purchase. So that's always cool. Saving some money. So especially on the cheaper stuff, you go buy like a sticker and whatever you get for like half off. It's a win-win. So yeah, like I said, go check them out. W Energy. And yeah, I just wanted to plug that before we finished. And then also because we are technically recording this Friday night, the YouTube video will be available tomorrow morning, so Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And usually my brother posts the podcast on like Spotify and all the other streaming platforms around the same time. So just figure, Saturday morning, check all your social medias, your podcasting outlets, and you'll have a new episode of Two Sons Podcast. I'm personally going to listen to it on my way to work. So you listen to it however you want, at the gym, at home, at work. It's for your listening pleasure. But I just wanted to plug that in before we forgot. So
Yeah. Like my brother said, definitely go check them out. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely do drink some sort of energy drink and or coffee every day or every other day. So any other company that's out there, such as W, check them out, especially if they're offering deals. And if you use our code Two Sons Podcast, Sons with an O, not a U, 10% off. 10% is 10%. That's you're almost all the way there. But just a little bit. So try out the starter pack. Let us know how the flavors are before we get our hands on them, and try it out for you guys, and hopefully go further with that. But once again, definitely check out our socials. Thank you again for tuning in to an episode of Two Sons Podcast. If not, thank you for joining us for maybe your first episode ever. And I believe we are on the track to 50 episodes, probably in 2 or 3 more episodes. I think this is going to be our 48th, maybe even our 49th episode. So whenever our 50th episode is, expect like a 50th episode special, because that is just crazy insane that we've been doing, half of 100 episodes
Mhm.
over the past, whatever, however long we've been doing this. I don't exactly know. So thank you guys for sticking with the journey. And if you've been here since the beginning, you rock. If you've been here since now, you still rock. Patrick Star lives under a rock. Have have a great night, great evening, great day, guys. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid. If you don't do anything, if you did, just see you guys later, and you guys enjoy your time doing whatever. Yeah, Joey out.
all right, well,
Just
I guess this is it. Have a good one, guys.